Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council special meeting this Monday evening, December 15th. Deputy City Clerk, may you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine. Councilmember Diaz-Nash?
Here.
Councilmember Sverka-Goditsky? Here. Deputy Mayor Fernandez?
Here.
Mayor Lorraine?
Here.
Councilmember Newsom?
Here. Thank you. Welcome. We are excited to be here in person with options for those who choose not to be in person to still participate virtually. This meeting is being held at the San Mateo Main Public Library due to the construction at City Hall as authorized by City Charter Section 2.10. I'd like to share a few logistical reminders to help our meeting run smoothly tonight. For those of us in the Oak Room, that's this room, please note that after 8 o'clock p.m., which is in fewer than 2 hours, the library does close, and staff asks that everyone exit through the back doors. So if the meeting goes beyond 8 o'clock, basically, we'll need to exit that way. With regard to parking access after 8 o'clock, the stairwell to the parking garage is locked, so attendees will need to use the elevator and select level P1 or P2 to access the garage. Zoom attendees, please check your microphone volume before participating in public comment tonight. MCTV, we have some folks here in the back, will continue monitoring audio to ensure clear sound for all participants. Thank you for your cooperation and for helping us maintain an efficient and accessible meeting environment. There are several ways to participate tonight. For those attending in person, you may complete a yellow request to speak slip and hand it to the Deputy City Clerk. If you're participating remotely, you can use the raise your hand feature in Zoom and you'll be called upon at the appropriate time. If calling in via phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Then, when called upon, press *6 to unmute. These options for public comment will remain available until I close public comment period for each specific item. We will now move to the business items being considered by the council. For that reason, I would like to remind all in the room and online that we'll be enforcing our rules of decorum. So we don't have any ceremonial items tonight. We're going right into business. As such, we do not allow for cheering, jeering, or booing during the business portion of the meeting, as this tends to put a chill on public comment. Our goal is to ensure that all perspectives are heard. Our motto is give respect, get respect, and we appreciate your cooperation with this. Deputy City Clerk, can you please read the consent calendar?
Certainly, Mayor Lorraine. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed and considered separately. Item number 1, Bermuda Drive Bridge Replacement Project Agreement. Item number 2, Community Development Permit Tracking Software Agreement Amendment. Item number 3, Citywide Operations Management System Amendment. And finally, item number 4, excess workers' compensation insurance policy for year 2026 and year 2027 approval.
Thank you. Is there any member of the council who would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? I think I saw a hand.
I don't need to pull an item, but I did want to ask about Bermuda Drive. How confident are we that the proposed contingency is sufficient given the project's history and potential for construction change orders?
I'll ask our Public Works Director to weigh in here. Matt Fabry.
Yeah, good evening. This agreement is for construction management, inspection and testing services. So I think contingency should be fine for this. I think in terms of contingency for the overall construction contract, that was dealt with when we approved the construction contract. So this one I think should be fine in terms of these services. It's a level that would be appropriate.
Okay. And do you feel like you'll need to come back to us for Do you feel like you'll need to come back to us in the future for additional funding?
It's hard to say at this point. I think we're approving things that are within our budget that we have allocated, and so once we get into construction, we'll know more. But I think right now we feel like we've got the appropriate budget that should allow us to get the project done.
Okay, thank you. I don't need to pull that, just wanted to clarify.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment after the consent?
Yes, of course. Would anyone like to pull an item? Okay. Seeing none from the council, if any members of the public would like to comment on any consent calendar item, that's
Through the mayor, we need a motion.
a motion to approve the consent calendar? But I think we're just going to ask public comment first.
Okay.
If you don't have any, I just wanted to instruct folks, if members of the public wish to comment on any consent calendar item, that's what the items that were just read by the Deputy City Clerk. Now would be the time to make your comment. This is for consent calendar items only. Deputy City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
If you wish to comment on consent items only, please, and you are in person, please give me your request to speak. If you are in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. It looks like we have one request to speak on consent items. Not anymore? We don't have any request to speak.
Thank you, Deputy City Clerk. Is there a motion from the council to approve the consent calendar?
I motion.
So second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Deputy City Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Mayor. Council members Ferko-Goditsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fernandez,
Yes.
Mayor Lorraine,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is general public comment.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
sorry, just
Oh, I apologize.
okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Newsom.
I just wanted to, on behalf of the Fiesta Gardens neighborhood, thank you also for coming last night and judging their holiday lights competition, and also thank the entire council for their support on this project. This project is very important to the Fiesta Gardens neighborhood, and they're looking forward to it being done in a timely manner. So they're very appreciative of this being approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we can move on to general public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on our agenda tonight may address the City Council at this time. State law prevents council from taking action on any matter not on the agenda, but your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This public comment section is generally limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, that is subject to council's discretion and can be extended if council wishes to do so. If needed, an opportunity for additional public comment may also be provided later in the agenda. Deputy Clerk, can you please tally the total number of requests to speak on general public comment?
You wish to speak on general public comment and you are with us in person in the Oak Room, please make sure to give me your request to speak now. If you are joining us in our virtual environment, please raise your hand. I will now be closing the option to provide general public comment. And we have 2 requests to speak per our rules and procedures. That is 3 minutes per speaker.
Thank you.
And we'll begin with our speaker in person, Tassos Sografos.
Can you hand those out? Thanks. Hi, I'm just giving you some documentation. Welcome tonight. My name is Tassos Zagrafos, City of San Mateo resident. I'm here to speak about the bike lanes on Humboldt Street. I have a couple of comments to make, input from the public. I didn't attend the infrastructure and sustainability meeting this last week, and I know that the Humboldt bike streams was addressed. Humboldt bike lanes was addressed. I recall the city council meeting on February 3rd, which is on the first page there that I handed out. It talks about the city council giving direction to staff to look at alternative 3 and alternative 5 and gave city staff direction to look at those options and bring the topic back to city council. When I looked at the agenda for the meeting this last week, I underlined that bottom line there at that page. It was whether to understand whether the community was in support of alternative 3, which seems to be a little bit of a disconnect. I thought it was to direct staff to look at implementing the city council's recommendation. I also wanted to highlight my concerns about the survey and how it was conducted, and also any data that was collected about bike lane usage on Humboldt Street. The data seems to imply, well, there are 3 things. One is we didn't know who was really supplying information, except for the mail-in ballots surveys, but the ones that were done online or in person, people could check off that they lived in North Central or lived on Humboldt, and there wasn't really any validation or verification of that. The same goes within the online survey. While you might have removed a number of duplicate IP addresses, which, mind you, there were a lot, and that should be a reason to cause concern that people were trying to bias the survey somehow. You still don't know who lived where when they checked the box. The other one was, so on the online surveys and the ones in person, they could be slightly skewed because of that. The mail-in ones seem to imply that no one, either on Fremont or on Idaho or on Humboldt, wanted the bike lanes because they were pitted against each other. Do you want it on your street or someone else's street? And pretty much across the board, you can interpret those results as nobody really wanted the bike lanes at all. The other thing I want to contest is the data.
Thank you.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is on our remote environment, MMA.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. MMA is the name of an organization that I run called the Mission Merchants Association. So apologies for that. It's not allowing me to rename. But my name is Ryan Motzik. I am a skate shop owner in the city of San Mateo and have been for almost 20 years. I've also worked in skateboarding in downtown San Mateo since '97. As a teenager, 30 years ago, plus I worked with other folks in our community to get a skate park in the town of San Mateo. And after many, many years of attending meetings, we were approved to not get 1, but 3 small skate parks. Fast forward to now, there's just 2 parks, and they are both really dilapidated. Roughly around 15 years ago, we tried to start pushing for that 3rd park to get made and had put in a lot of effort to have some engagement with San Mateo Parks and Rec, which was really challenging. We weren't getting return phone calls, return emails. And then a few years ago, we finally were able to have some engagement, and we're told that there's going to be a $400,000 something budget for skate park renovations. So no 3rd park that was approved, but skate park renovations. And after all that engagement and back and forth and input that we provided with not a lot of counter input received, we are getting the skate park that we already had built just going to get resurfaced, and they're going to add lights that should have been there since day one. 20 years ago when that park was built, we were told, oh, you don't get lights because skateboarding's too loud, even though there was a study that actually showed the basketball court that has lights is louder. Getting a park that looks exactly the same as the park that we received 20 years ago with maintenance that should have been happening over the years feels a little bit like a slap in the face, just to be honest, and I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. I also want to flag just the lack of engagement from the San Mateo Parks and Rec. We've had a lot more luck with other cities. We just had a great park built in the Centennial Trail in South San Francisco, had the entire park of Millbrae renovated. And I feel that the collaboration that we have with those cities and other cities, such as San Francisco, is non-existent in San Mateo. And I really hope that there can be a better conversation, perhaps a listening session, to understand a community that is often not listened to give them a chance to have something that is sustainable and fair for the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to our next item of business, which is item number 5. This is old business, wet weather preparations update, with a presentation from Matt Fabry, Director of Public Works. Just as a quick reminder, we're going to hear a presentation from city staff, then we'll open up public comment for this item, and people can get some time to comment on that if they wish, after which the council will ask questions and give feedback. And with that, I will offer the mic to Matt Fabry.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome council members to hear this presentation. So the last time that I gave a presentation was about a year ago in November of last year. Prior to that, we were giving more frequent quarterly updates, but last year in November, we recommended that we move to annual updates. So here's your annual update, and I'm mostly going to be updating on items that are newer things that we're working on. There's a lot of things that we've talked about in the past that have, were already or have been operationalized into our activities. I'll touch on some of those briefly, but a lot of the routine things that we're doing in terms of wet weather preparations, in terms of maintaining our pump stations and maintaining our trash racks and things like that, those are all standard practices of business now, so I'm not providing any specifics on those. So next slide, please. Just a reminder, this is informational update only, so any feedback is welcome, obviously, from council. Next slide, please. So what I want to talk about is some of the ongoing initiatives that we've got going, some of the annual maintenance activities, and then some new activities that we're engaged in. So we'll talk a little bit about where we are with the Marina Lagoon Pump Station, where we are with our storm drain master plan updates, some spot dredging at the lagoon that you've heard about before. I'll talk a little bit about our annual maintenance activities in terms of the inspections and cleanings of our catch basins and devices. Just a reminder on our remote monitoring cameras that we installed, just a refresher on our sandbag stations, and then I'll talk about our efforts to secure a citywide creek maintenance permit and an engagement effort that we're going to be starting soon that's related to the storm drain master plan, where we want to get feedback from the community. So next slide, please. Next. So one of the things I wanted to highlight is that we are in the beginning process. We've secured a consultant entity that's going to be helping us with this, but we are doing a Marina Lagoon Pump Station physical hydraulic modeling process. And so this is something that was new to me, but I learned that when you have pumps as big as the ones we have out at the Marina Lagoon Pump Station, you get beyond what computer models can really simulate in terms of how the system functions, and you really end up having to build a scale model. So we are contracting with an entity up in Vancouver that is going to be building a scale model of the Marina Lagoon Pump Station, and this is going to help us evaluate how the system operates and address a couple of key concerns that council is familiar with. One of those being, is it safe for us with the existing pumps to pump below 95 feet, which is currently not recommended by the pump manufacturer, and is something that we brought to light when after the storms on New Year's Eve 2022. The interest in being able to pump below 95 feet serves multiple purposes. One is that we have not been able to provide the dock owners on the lagoon a maintenance period, which we used to provide on an annual basis, where we had pumped the lagoon 1.5 feet lower to give them an opportunity to maintain their docks. But it's also an important question for us in terms of the future operations of that facility, and it ties into what I'll mention when we talk about the storm drain master plan update. But if we have the ability to pump lower, it gives us different operational capacity in terms of how we can manage storm flows coming into the lagoon and potentially gives us additional storage capacity that can help us with either larger storm events or future climate change scenarios. So the analysis will give us information in terms of, can we do this safely as it is, or it may recommend improvements to the pump station that would need to be done to optimize operations of the facility. So we should get some good recommendations out of this that we hope to have complete around close to the end of the fiscal year, probably in July timeframe. We should have the process done. So next slide, please. So related to that is our storm drain master plan update. So as council recalls, our storm drain master plan dates back to 2004. So that was one of the key things that we wanted to do once we had funding secured from the Community Flood and Storm Protection Fee, is update that storm drain master plan. And so we've done quite a bit of work on that, and we will actually be coming and presenting to council next month on January 26th. We'll also be going to the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission on the 14th prior to that. But what we've been working on is acquiring a lot of data in terms of the condition of our storm drainage system. So we've been doing a condition assessment, which includes going out and TVing pipelines, looking at manholes, looking at our pump stations. And then we've also, our consultant has updated their hydraulic model of our entire storm drainage system, which gives us the ability to determine where things go when it rains, and looking at different storm sizes, where do we have capacity issues. And so they've updated that model. And then currently what we're looking at with the consultant is trying to wrestle with how we're going to address climate change, which obviously is a big concern and can really change your overall results in terms of where you have potential deficiencies in your system if you start projecting for future more intense storm events in a changing climate. Developing criteria for how we're going to prioritize the necessary capital projects that will come out of the update to the storm drain master plan. And then we're at the point now where we're starting to review some of the preliminary capital improvements that are recommended by the consultant to address some of our issues within the system. So we hope to have a draft report that can be put out for public review and comment in the spring, and anticipate that we'd likely come back to council in June or July potentially to potentially adopt the new revised master plan. So I'll talk a little bit more at the end of this on some of the public engagement that we're doing related to that, but for now we'll go to the next slide. I wanted to just reiterate where we are with the Marina Lagoon spot dredging. So this is something that we are allowed to do under our existing Marina Lagoon operational permit, where we're allowed to do a certain amount of spot dredging at the mouths of the 3 creeks that enter the lagoon, limited to a certain volume of cubic yards of material that can be removed within a 5-year period. So this is something that we had put out to bid in June of this year. We unfortunately only got a single bid that was 30% higher than our engineer's estimate. We entered into a process of seeing if we could value engineer a reduced costs and different approach, but we were unable to do that. So we are preparing to re-advertise in late January in 2026, and that will allow us to hopefully get more bids, and then we would get underway with the work and have to complete that by our permit required timeframe of getting that done by the end of October. We will make sure as we're doing that lagoon users and residents will be notified of the upcoming construction activity timelines, what the impacts will be, and other related project information. This would include that boats on the lagoon are going to have to maintain a certain separation from the dredge barges. The picture on the bottom there is what we call the triangular parcel that is adjacent to the lagoon and off of Anchor Road. This is where we had construction contractor parking for the wastewater treatment plant for much of that project. But that is the location that we're looking at in terms of temporarily stockpiling the dredge materials to allow those to dry out before they get hauled off. So there's definitely going to be community outreach related to that process and what people can expect from that going forward. So next slide, please. So I'll move on to some of the annual maintenance activities. So just to give an update on our catch basin cleaning, if council recalls, this is something that we initiated and have done for the last 2 seasons. This is our 3rd season that we've been proactively trying to clean all of our catch basins. Our staff has seen a notable improvement in how our system operates as a result of this activity, so I think it's been well worth the investment. This year, we're actually going beyond just cleaning the catch basins, and we're also cleaning the pipeline segments in between the catch basins and pipelines from the manholes. And so it's definitely slowing us down in terms of, the progress that we had achieved in the last 2 years in terms of just cleaning the catch basins, but I think it's providing important additional benefits. Staff is regularly reflecting on, do we need to shift our approach and move forward quicker and reduce our pipeline cleaning so we can get more catch basins cleaned. So we're constantly looking at that. But to date, I think, and this is even more recent than what was in the agenda report, I think we've cleaned more than 1,400 catch basins. So we have about 6,000, and in the past years, we've been cleaning about 4,000 of those. Once we get further west up into the hills, it's not as necessary. So we're, still a ways away from where we have gotten to in terms of completing the effort. We work from the east side of the city towards the west. But we've also now cleaned about 19 miles of our total storm drainage pipeline system, which is about 130 miles, so it's about 15%. So it's still, a relatively small percentage overall, but it's something that has not been done on a regular basis, and so we expect that this is going to be beneficial as well, especially doing it, in the eastern part of the community, at the bottom end of some of the drainage systems. So, next slide, please. Just wanted to remind the council that we did deploy multiple flood monitoring cameras at different locations. So we have multiple cameras out at the lagoon that help us to have eyes on the discharge point and the intake area of the lagoon pump station. We've got a camera down at the south end of the lagoon that allows us to see any issues at the south end. We've got cameras at 42nd Avenue and El Camino where we've had problems in terms of having to close that intersection when our pump station was unable to keep up. We've got cameras on San Mateo Creek at multiple locations at Arroyo Court and in Gateway Park. So these are things that our staff has visibility on during storm events that allow them to see what's going on and keep eyes on things without having to be out there in the field. Next slide. We do have our normal 3 sandbag stations deployed. Last year, you may recall that we had a 4th that was, we were able to deploy one up in the North Central neighborhood at the San Mateo Foster City School District site. Unfortunately, that site is under construction right now, so we were unable to secure that 4th site again. But we do have our 3 sites available, one at Beresford Park at the parking lot off Alameda de las Pulgas, one at our Corporation Yard off Pacific Boulevard, and one off of Anchor Road. So those are available and have been available since, I believe, October 1st for the public to fill up sandbags. Next. Move on to some of the new activities. I think 2 more items to highlight. So one is that I wanted to highlight that we are working on trying to obtain a citywide creek maintenance permit. As we've talked about in the past with council, it's very challenging to get into our creeks and channels and do any kind of maintenance work without getting permits from various regulatory agencies, sometimes 4 or 5 different agencies. So we are in the process. We have secured a consultant and awarded agreement to them as of December 1st to help us pursue a citywide maintenance permit. So this would allow us to do maintenance in all of our city maintained creeks and channels. Once we get that permit, we expect it's going to take us a year or 2 to get the permit. It's a pretty complicated process to deal with the multiple regulatory agencies and come up with a plan of what you can do and what you can't do and what the mitigation activities are. But we are also working on some specific permits. We're trying to expedite getting a permit for maintaining the 16th Avenue channel that has problems with vegetation growing up in it every year. So we're trying to separately pursue an expedited permit for that we hope to get sooner and get that by this coming summer so that we can do some maintenance work in that channel before next rainy season. And we expect hopefully to get the citywide permit in place by summer of 2027, but we'll have to see how that goes. One of the things that we are including in the scope of work for the consultant is to include preparation of electronic guidance that could be on our website for private property owners for private creek segments to help them understand what their responsibilities are in terms of maintaining creeks and what they can and can't do and where they may need to get permits. And to the extent that we can support any of those private maintenance activities under our citywide maintenance permit, we're looking at that, whether or not that's possible to give coverage for private owners under our citywide if they adhere to certain standards, but we'll have to see to what extent the regulatory agencies will allow something like that. Next slide. And then finally, I wanted to highlight that we are going to be rolling out what we is a website that will allow us to get feedback. This is related to the Storm Drain Master Plan. So we want to really get feedback from the public in terms of, where have they seen flooding issues. And so this will be a tool that we've tried to make as simple as possible in terms of people telling us where they've seen things. It gives them the ability to, we can have them give us information in terms of pictures or videos. And this will really help us validate our consultant's model that they've done in terms of where the model is telling us that there would be flooding in different storm situations, but also make sure that we aren't missing anything, and help us, identify potentially maintenance issues that we need to be getting on our radar versus things that need to be built into the capital improvement program. So we expect to roll this out very shortly. I think we're in the process of getting it translated right now so that it'd be available in multiple languages, but this should be available, and we'll obviously promote that through our various channels to make sure that the public is aware of the availability, and we'll have it available for several months just to make sure that people have time to access that and provide us information. So I believe that that is my last slide. So at the appropriate time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Okay, at this time, I would ask for public comment. If we have any public comment on this item, you can give a speaker slip to the Deputy City Clerk or raise your hand at this time. Deputy City Clerk, do we have any speakers for public comment?
If you wish to provide public comment on item 5, wet weather preparations update, and you are with us in the room right now, please provide me with your request to speak. If you are joining us in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. It looks like we have one request to speak in chambers. For this item? Okay, perfect. For rules and procedures, that is 3 minutes. He's going to help you with the mic. Don't worry. Just 1 second.
This is very simple. I wanted, I'm driven to come here and say thank you to Matt for all the effort he's done. And this is head and shoulders above what we'd seen before Matt got here. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on item 5.
Thank you. Do any city council members have any questions they'd like to ask? Yes, please feel free. Councilmember Newsom.
I get to start. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Director, for your presentation. I've had a neighbor that we share, as we both live in Sunnybrae Neighborhood Association, that has had concerns because last year in November, she had flooding again. Now, fortunately, it didn't get all the way up to the house this time, but it did get onto her lawn, and she's concerned. One of the things she said was that I'm quoting her, supposedly quoting you, so it's paraphrasing, but she said that you mentioned that there may be spots around the city, and this being one of them, where we have to look at addressing additional needs like cleaning the culverts and perhaps making them larger. So I was curious, and that kind of got my thinking going of, have we identified that? Well, obviously we've identified that, but have we identified that in other places throughout the city where we may have to do some infrastructure improvements to prevent flooding? Meaning just cleaning, the rivers and creeks and lowering it might not be the end-all solution. So have you identified any places? And obviously, I love the fact that you have this tool coming because that'll help us even more. But I'm just curious, over the last year and a half, have you guys, as a department, identified some hotspots that maybe need to be addressed further?
Yeah, and I think that that's part of what the updated modeling that the consultant is doing with the hydraulic model of our system is helping us to identify where some of these hydraulic deficiencies are, where we don't have the capacity to carry, our design is typically a 10-year, 24-hour storm, but sometimes we can't even carry a 2-year storm or a 5-year storm. And so looking to see if it can carry, our design storm amounts. But also, that's where we're also looking at, what do we do in terms of looking at future climate scenarios of how do we account for that in the future? And that's where it gets really complicated, because that's where it can get really expensive really quick as you try to say that you're going to upsize your system for much larger storm events. But yes, so there are things that have been identified. I believe I spoke to the resident in question today on the phone, and I think that there is a preliminary capital improvement project that was identified right near her home in terms of pipeline improvement projects. I think we may have, deficient capacity within the system near her home. That is one of the things that would be identified as a potential capital improvement project. I have talked to our consultant about, issues that have been raised. We brought this forward, I think, when we were doing the debrief of, what happened on New Year's Eve 2022, is that there were concerns about whether the culverts underneath 101 were undersized. So the consultant is looking at that for sure, because, I wanted to make sure that we put that out there previously. We need to make sure that we're following through on that. But I think it's also a question of, what is the condition of the culverts in terms of, are they full of sediment or partially full of sediment? And so that is part of what they did in terms of the condition assessment, is that they did get eyes on all that stuff. And so some of the things that they'll identify potentially are maintenance issues that need to be dealt with from a maintenance perspective, and some of them will be capital projects where we need to go out there and upsize a pipe or upsize a culvert.
Thank you. And I actually have a couple more questions, but I'll keep it quick. I know I overheard or heard through your report that only one dredging company came forward with a bid. What are we going to do differently to ensure that we get more bids? Have we talked to other cities that dredge, like Foster City and Redwood City? And is there, besides putting it out for bid again, is there a tactic to make sure that we get hopefully more competitive bids?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we know is that there were multiple bidders that showed up at our pre-bid meeting for that, and we talked to multiple bidders afterwards and asked why they didn't bid, and I think it was a timing issue for some of them, that it just was a quick turnaround, and I think we did advertise it maybe for, I can't say for sure, but I think if I recall correctly, it was a reduced duration from what we would have preferred, but it was partly because we were trying to get the project bid and get it done before that October deadline. So I think one is we'll make sure that we have it out there for, a decent amount of time. We'll make sure that we're contacting all the bidders that were there before. I'll make sure that staff is reaching out to the other cities that do dredging, as I think they probably already have, but I'll double check and make sure that we're trying to find who those other entities are to make sure they're aware that this is going out.
Thank you. And my last question maybe is more appropriate for city staff, so I'll look towards the city manager and see what he says. But have we looked for a replacement site for the North Central sandbag station? And have we exhausted that there are no more options to have something in that area?
So we've been working on locating a sandbag station in North Central for 2 years now, or 2.5 years actually. And so it's really difficult to find a place where they'll allow us to have a sandbag station. We were fortunate that the San Mateo Foster City School District was gracious enough to give us space previously, but we have checked with the federal government, the state government, our local school districts, and also different parishes, churches as well. And we've had limited, or we haven't had any success really, because you need more than just a couple stalls in order to set this up. And then you have to, just from the public standpoint, it could be utilized at all hours actually, any given time, depending on storm.
Thank you.
And in my conversations with the school district staff, they did indicate that they hope that after this construction is done, that they would be able to offer us a location again in the future. So potentially next rainy season, we'd have that option again.
Great. Thank you very much. That's all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Spirko-Guditsky.
Thanks. I just want to say thank you so much. I think we've made huge progress as a city through the stormwater initiative and also with the ballot measure. And so it's really great to see what happens when we invest, how much progress we can make as a community. I did have a couple follow-up questions to Rob's question on dredging. So if we were to rebid again, and then that exceeds the available funding, what are the contingency options to ensure, we make the goal by end of 2026?
Well, obviously, we'd have to look at how high the prices are, but, we have money coming in from the fee that, we'd have to look at, we have available funds, that haven't been allocated yet, so there's capacity there, but I think we'd have to look at how high the prices are. My hope is that with more bidders coming in, and knowing what the bid was that came in last time, I would hope that we'll get some competitive bids that would be beneath our engineer's estimate.
And then you talked about impact to lagoon users and nearby residents. I'm wondering, when we do a dredge, what's the anticipated timeline of the actual project from start to completion?
I don't know exactly, but I think it's a couple of months, time frame, and some of that is the time period that the soil is sitting there drying out, so that we aren't spending a ton of money hauling really heavy, wet soil. But I think that the dredging activities themselves, I'd have to get back to you on that, but I think the whole thing is probably a couple months in duration.
And then I don't want to diminish anything, because the fact that we're dredging is fantastic news. But I do just want to reiterate, and just so the council understands what we're talking about roughly like a foot of sediment that we're drying out. This isn't a massive permit for dredging, but this is cleaning out the creek inlets. So I just want to make sure we're over communicating to the public, because I think when people hear dredging, they think, thousands of pounds of earth, and then that soil being next to properties drying out causes some tension. So what we're talking about in this case for the next few years is really like 1 foot of soil that we're drying out and then hauling off. But just want to reiterate the need to really over communicate, especially to those nearby.
I appreciate that. And then I do have, sorry, I forgot that I've got staff available virtually. And so I've got my engineering manager, Jimmy Vo, has raised his hand. I think he may be able to answer the question on the duration of the construction
great.
activities.
Hi, this is Jimmy. Just to answer your question about the dredging duration, we're looking about approximately 60 working days, 80 working days. So about 3 to 4 months is the timeline for the work on the Brain Lagoon project.
Okay, great. That's actually faster than I thought. And then just thinking about longer term and future dredging planning, especially given that we are doing the hydraulic modeling study and also thinking about future climate impacts, like what do you foresee as the frequency and prioritization of future lagoon or creek cleanups looking like?
Well, when it comes to the larger scale dredging of the lagoon, I think there's a few things that are coming together that I think we need to understand before we can really make informed decisions about going forward with larger scale dredging activities. And larger scale dredging activities is going to have to start with, studies and design and permitting and all that stuff. So it's going to take some time. And I don't want to diminish the importance of that issue to community members, especially on the southern end of the lagoon. But I think a few things. One is that I do think that we need to get the final storm drain master plan, because I think we need to understand what came out of that in terms of the modeling of our system and how the lagoon functions with that, because it's a holistic analysis of everything. They did do updated information in terms of getting, depths of sediment and whatnot in the lagoon. So I think we need to understand what the updated information is in terms of how much sediment is in the lagoon. But also understand it in the context of the overall priorities for improvements. I think one of the things that has been identified in the past, and like I said, this is not to diminish the public's interest in dredging, is that from a capacity standpoint, much of the sediment is below the operational level of where we're controlling the water during storm events, and so it's not really affecting significantly our flood controllability. But that's an issue that if, for example, the hydraulic analysis tells us that we could safely pump below 95 feet, suddenly that may open up additional storage capacity for us to utilize in the context of large storm events, or as I said, maybe with climate change, that becomes an important factor of how we manage the larger storm events under a changing climate. So I think understanding what comes out of the hydraulic analysis, the storm drain master plan, and the other piece that is also important, I think, is that we're starting off on our climate adaptation plan. And we found very clearly, just with the spot dredging, that the biggest component of the cost is disposal of the dredged material. And unfortunately, we do have some levels of pollutants in the dredged material that doesn't allow it necessarily to be used for certain types of beneficial reuse. It can be used for certain activities where it's going to be covered with other soil material, but we end up having to pay a significant amount of money hauling it to a landfill. And so if we're going to do a larger scale dredging, we really need to figure out if there's a way that we can beneficially reuse that material to our own benefit. It may be that we can find a wetland restoration project somewhere in the Bay Area that's willing to accept it as sort of the intermediate material that then gets covered with some other material. And that may be an option, but I think we need to understand from a climate adaptation standpoint, what do we need to do to protect our own shoreline? And is there a possibility that we could use that material as building up, a horizontal levee or something like that, where we can get the direct benefit from ourselves and not spend the money to haul it away for disposal at a landfill? So I think those are the three things that I think are important for us to understand. And so two of those are going to be done, in the next 6 months or so. The climate adaptation plan is obviously going to be longer term. But I think at least with those first two, it will probably give us a better sense of, does it make sense to move forward in the near term in terms of trying to get a consultant on board to start doing studies or permitting or analysis and things like that.
Okay, great. Those are all my questions, but I do just want to reiterate how excited I am about the citywide creek maintenance permit. That is a huge deal, and I'm so happy that city staff has prioritized that and is making that happen. Also, again, as a resident of the East Side and member of Flood Free San Mateo, I just want to say how excited I think, I'm speaking for the whole group, we are to see a dredging project, especially will directly impact the community in Rob's district for Leslie and Burrell Creek. And just the fact that we've made so much forward momentum in 2 years is really a huge testament to everyone in the city and to the council. And it really shows what we can do when we come together behind an initiative. So I'm personally very excited. And I just want to say, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other council questions? Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
I want to first thank you, Matt, for a very comprehensive presentation. I learned something every single time you get in front of the microphone, so I really appreciate it. And I want to thank Councilmember Newsom for taking my question about the North Central flooding site, the sandbagging site, but that is really important. So if there are any other avenues that we haven't explored yet, including the Armory, Talwater, I think a site in North Central is really important. And if you need any assistance in exploring those options, please let me know. The question I had was somewhat connected to the wet weather preparations, but I wanted to know, and so forgive me if you can't answer this question, but I would appreciate an update. I believe that related to this, we do have some houses in the city. Most of North Shoreview was removed from the FEMA flood zone, but I believe that we do have a few homes still there. Can you advise on the sort of the update or where we are in getting the removal of the last kind of clump of homes in the FEMA flood zone and how it relates to the work that we're doing here?
Yeah, I may call on Jimmy to speak again. I believe that the vast majority of homes, like in the North Shoreview area, have been removed. There may have been a couple of homes that were right on the border that, that they would have to check whether or not they were fully removed. I know that we have another pocket of homes that's more over along Hillsdale Boulevard.
Yeah.
And so right now, there is no plan in place to remove those folks from the flood zone. I think the challenge is that the cost to do the improvements that would be necessary to remove them are pretty significant for the number of homes that are in there. So we don't have anything, but I think that's another thing that we need to look at what comes out of the storm drain master plan to determine what improvements are being recommended and whether or not those would have a benefit on that flood zone area that still remains. I don't have an answer on that in terms of what they found, but I don't know if Jimmy, if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, I can provide some details, at least for the Shoreview neighborhoods. I believe the improvements that were completed for the Cuddy Point and the Poplar Pump Station removed the vast majority of homes out of the FEMA flood zones. There may be a few homes that are right on the border of some flood boundaries, and in previous efforts, staff has coordinated directly with those individual homeowners to seek guidance with FEMA on using out of shown mapping to kind of remove them on an individual basis. We have not gotten further information from those residents, but we did identify them as we were doing our updates for the flood zones in that area. For the other areas on Hillsdale, like Matt mentioned, those are areas that we don't have something provided right now for improvements just because of the associates costs with the improvements, but that's something that we're going to be looking further to see what those thoughts or those recommendations are going to provide price out for us.
Okay. I know that the FEMA flood zone issue was very important to my district on North Shoreview, and I'm very grateful that those have been removed. So I can only assume that they're important to the representatives who represent those areas. So if we could maybe keep that in mind to give us an update when there's been movement on that, I would appreciate it.
Would it be possible to get an inventory of the homes that are still in the FEMA flood zone?
Yeah, I assume we have that information, should be able to provide that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I think, just as a reminder, I think, the folks in North Shoreview that did get removed, I mean, there was an assessment, and those folks, are now starting to pay that. I don't think we started assessing until we actually got the improvements done. But I think that's part of the challenge is that, to do an assessment on the small number of homes that are remaining for the cost of the improvements would be, very significant. And so I think it's something that the city would have to spend the majority of the funds, and that's where I think we haven't, identified what the solution is and where the funding would come from. But that's something we'll definitely look at as the Storm Drain Master Plan wraps
Awesome.
up.
Thank you, Mr. Faber. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of other questions. Number one, amazing. I remember the first presentation you did. It was a difficult presentation to give. It was a difficult presentation to hear. And this is a great presentation to hear. So please thank everyone on the team. Thank you, Jimmy, and everyone. So I know that you're working toward doing the dredging. Did you ever decide where the dredging material will go once it's pulled out?
Yeah, for the spot dredging, it's going to end up going to a landfill. We did have conversations. There is a wetland restoration project that's going on called Montezuma Wetlands. I'm not sure exactly where it is geographically. They were actually interested in taking the material from us, but the only way they could receive it is by barge. And so we ran into a challenge of we can't barge it out of the lagoon, so we would have to truck it somewhere to get it onto a barge, to barge it to them. And at that point, it just wasn't going to save us any significant amount of money because we'd still have to be trucking it away to get it onto a barge. So, but it's definitely something that we want to keep in mind, like I said, for a larger scale dredging project, that then maybe it becomes cost effective to build some sort of a pipeline system as associated with that would allow you to get material out onto some sort of boat out in the bay that then could take it away more cost effectively. So it's something for the larger project we definitely want to look at, but for the smaller project, we couldn't find a way to make it more cost effective.
And SFO was not an option.
We did not talk to SFO, but we talked to, multiple entities that are aware of the projects that are ongoing in terms of who's looking for soil, and that was not one that was brought to our attention.
Okay, great, thank you. And then just two sort of education outreach questions. You said you were going to be developing an electronic guide for property owners for the private creek areas. Will that be really a guide in English or public work ease? And then number two, how do we really, will there be mailings to these folks saying it's here? Because that's what we all hear, what can I do?
We haven't gotten that far, but I don't see a reason. I mean, we have pretty decent delineation. There's always the devil in the details of, like, we get a question about a particular creek segment and somebody will say, is this yours or is it mine? And so we often have to do a little bit of digging, but we have pretty good delineation of where we think, our responsibilities are. And so I think we have the ability that we should be able to send out mailed notices to people along the sections that we think are private and let them know that this is available once it's available. And the intent would be is that it would be language that would be in plain English for a general homeowner to understand, yes.
That would be fantastic. And I think it would probably be a surprise to many of them that it is their responsibility. So it'll be education as well. So that's great. And then the third question is related to communication and the community feedback tool. Why is it only for a certain period of time? I would think we'd want to have that tool always available in case.
I don't see a reason why we couldn't keep it available on a longer duration. I think we'll probably just want to put a close to it in terms of what information it provides for updating the master plan, because it's
Right.
really going to go into validating, did we miss anything, or is it telling us anything different than what the models are telling us? So I think that's the main focus, but I don't see a reason that we couldn't have that available on an ongoing basis. So during, each rainy season, if people provided more information, it's more information.
Only
for
helpful,
staff,
yeah. And seeing as how we're going to be launching our CRM system in February, yes, City Manager? So that the community will be able to have an app. If they have a problem, they can put it on the app and it will come to city staff and deal with it and you get updates on it, which is fantastic. And I think this is a great complement to that.
Yeah,
So
I'll
that-
talk to staff. We hadn't thought about that, but that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and please tell everyone this is wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, this is a cool position in which to be. I feel like there's been a number of great questions already asked and some praise given. So I'll just echo the praise and thank everyone for the progress to date. I am also looking forward to the community input tool and hope as many residents and stakeholders as possible will use it to help inform our ongoing work. And with that, I will conclude the item and thank Director for his presentation.
Thank you, Matt.
And move on
Thank
to
you.
the next item. Item number 6 is Economic Development Work Plan 2026 to 2029 adoption. We have a presentation from Economic Development Manager Jennifer Chen. Welcome, Jennifer, and good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Lorraine and City Council members. As you mentioned, I'm Jennifer Chen, the city's Economic Development Manager with the City Manager's Office. And
I am trying to start my presentation.
I'm trying to start a presentation. Oh, there we go. So tonight I am presenting the proposed 2026-2029 Economic Development Work Plan for council adoption. A bit of background for you. In November 2024, council approved a framework that this work plan has built upon. The city's economic development efforts are very focused on fostering a strong and diverse local economy. And the work plan provides a coordinated, data-driven approach that connects multiple departments and community partners to achieve this goal. The work plan is flexible enough to respond to changing market conditions and while advancing the long-term sustainability and community vitality. And then finally, the work plan is informed by community engagement, the city's strategic plan, and consistency with the general plan 2040 goals. The purpose of the work plan is to give staff a clear framework to advance the city's economic priorities, leverage our strengths and address challenges, strengthen partnerships with the chamber, the Downtown Association, business owners, workforce groups, and promote long-term sustainability and economic vitality. This plan, it has been informed by comprehensive outreach, which staff conducted a comprehensive SWOT analysis and met with business groups, property owners, brokers, developers, the chamber, and the Downtown Association. The next section highlights the SWOT analysis, which is a quick scan of what's working well, where we see challenges and opportunities ahead. So the strengths of San Mateo. San Mateo continues to benefit from a vibrant downtown, strong business mix, and excellent transit connections. Weakness, our challenges include high operating costs, real estate costs, limited developable land, and perceptions of a complex permitting process and declining hotel inventory. Our opportunities is that we have development momentum with the passage of Measure T and SB 330 and the upcoming downtown area plan for new mixed use and commercial growth, which strengthens our business attraction, retention, and new investments. What are our threats? Well, broader economic uncertainty, regional housing affordability, and retail shifts towards online platforms and continue to affect business landscape and impact the city's ability to retain businesses, sustain workforce, and support long-term economic vitality. Building on these findings of the SWOT analysis, the work plan focuses on these 7 core goals. 1, expand and diversify the tax revenue sources, foster a business-friendly environment, support workforce development and employment training opportunities, increase workforce and affordable housing access, enhance entertainment and cultural offerings, maintain safe and vibrant business districts, and finally, align with General Plan 2040 in the downtown area plan. And we're going to go through each one of these goals now. To advance this goal, which is to expand and diversify tax revenues, key actions will include regularly hosting broker meetings to track vacancies and investment opportunities, explore new revenue streams such as billboards, reuse of city properties, potential business improvement district formation, attracting growth stage companies and partnering with private incubators to foster innovative sectors like AI, fintech, and biosciences, and continue to analyze and track economic data, trends, and market activities. Goal number 2, fostering a business-friendly environment. To support a more business-friendly environment, the key actions include strengthening communications and visibility through social media and a refreshed business webpage, support small, minority, and not-for-profit businesses as key partners in building a vibrant city, streamline permitting, improve navigation of city processes, and continue engagement with major employers to retain and expand job opportunities. Goal 3, the support of workforce development and training. To strengthen workforce development and training efforts, our key actions will include expanding partnerships with NovaWorks, JobTrain, College of San Mateo, align workforce training with emerging industry needs, promote youth employment through internships and apprenticeships, encourage diversity and inclusion by collaborating with unions, trade groups, and industry leaders. Our goal number 4 is to increase our workforce affordable housing access. Sorry about that. To expand our housing options and improve access for local workforce, our key actions will include coordinating with the housing manager to expand workforce housing, partnering with commute.org to improve last mile connections to reduce congestion, and implementing a transportation demand management policy to enhance mobility and access to jobs. Our 5th goal is to enhance entertainment and cultural offerings. To create a dynamic and engaging environment, our key goals will be to partner with the Event Center and SF Peninsula to attract regional conferences, tournaments, and festivals. Evaluate the feasibility of an entertainment district to boost nightlife and cultural vibrancy. Support shop local and local business promotions with the Downtown Association and the Chamber, and collaborate with Parks and Rec to integrate businesses into community events and celebrations like the Booze on B Street event. Our goal number 6 is to maintain a safe and vibrant business district. And the key actions under here would include activate underutilized spaces with pop-ups, farmers markets, and outdoor events. Continue partnerships with the police department on our Business Watch program and real-time safety coordination. And partnering with and improve visibility of joint marketing and wayfinding enhancements throughout the downtown, and investing in our pedestrian malls design, upkeep, and activation. And finally, our 7th goal is to align with our general plan and 2040 downtown area plan. These would include outreaching with the community on our downtown area plan, which will start mid-2026. We'll be identifying highest and best use of infill and redevelopment opportunities in the city, leveraging Measure T to support mixed-use development, connecting housing, retail, and services, and streamlining our SB 330 applications for greater efficiency. Additionally, we're going to be highlighting citywide retail and service vitality. And finally, we're going to strengthen our efforts to ensure a good mix of neighborhood and regional business hubs that are aligned with general plan and attractive to local customers. And we cannot achieve all these goals alone. success really depends on collaboration, and the partners shown here play a vital role in advancing our goals for the city. That's your downtown association, your chamber of commerce, our Samcita, Nova Works, College San Mateo, and then local business districts and property owners. With these goals outlined, I want to now share with you how we'll put this work plan into action and measure progress. This work plan does need a lot of cross-departmental coordination between CDD, Public Works, and others will work together to advance this plan. Staff will be tracking our vacancies, sales tax, and employment data to monitor progress. And quarterly updates will go to council with an annual review and a comprehensive evaluation in year 3. And slide 20, the request for City Council tonight is to adopt the proposed 2026 to 2029 economic development work plan.
Thank you, Jennifer. I would like to now invite those who would be in the public and wish to comment to please do so. Deputy City Clerk, do you have any speakers?
If you're joining us in person in the Oak Room and you wish to speak on this item, please give me the permission to speak slip. If you are joining us in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. I will close the public comment period for this item. Mayor Lorraine, we have 2 requests to speak per our rules and procedures. That is 3 minutes per speaker. And our first speaker is Erica Wood.
Is this on? Does it sound on? You can hear me. Okay. Yes. Good evening, Mayor Lorraine, council members, city staff. My name is Erica Wood. I head up the San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm so excited to be here tonight and speak in support of the Economic Development Work Plan. I think it's been a long time coming, and I really commend Jennifer Chen for the work and effort that has gone into this. I know it takes a lot. We are, the first thing I want to say is that it couldn't come at a better time. I think we live in such a dynamic, evolving, and fast-changing environment. We need an approach, a coordinated approach to economic development that can help us as a city be competitive and maintain our competitive advantages. A couple of things that I'm really pleased to see with the plan are that there is a nice balance of new strategies to help generate new revenue and attract new business, while also taking care of the important assets that we already have here. I'm also really pleased to see the alignment with General Plan 2040. I believe that economic development and community development go hand in hand, so that's another thing that I wanted to highlight. But a plan is just a plan. It's now what we do with it, how we live into it to make it real. I think it can be used to position San Mateo as a leader in inclusive and responsible development. It can be the place, the economic hub where innovation, culture, and commerce come together. So please know that the Chamber stands ready, along with our colleagues at the Downtown San Mateo Association who couldn't be here tonight, to help do whatever we can to make this a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Vince Seminitis. Thank you.
I'm representing the Age-Friendly Coalition, and I was interested in the plan. I've been working personally with Jennifer on the Age-Friendly City Certification, Business Certification Project. The pilot started last February, and we had a goal of 20 businesses to be certified. We got 22, and I was just a little disappointed that it wasn't mentioned here, because I think that it fits in with a lot of what was being discussed, and it's a place where the city, if it carries this forward and promotes it properly, it gives the city a competitive advantage in that respect. We're the only city that I'm aware of that has actually launched
this project. There are 3 I know of, two for sure that had it in their plans to develop such a program and have looked to us for some advice on how to do it. So I know there's interest, and I think the success of what we've done, partnering with the Chamber, partnering with the DSMA, and there's plenty more businesses that are interested in this. It can attract businesses to the city potentially if they know that this is the kind of environment that is supportive. The word inclusive, there's all kinds of mentioning in the presentation, except the word itself and the program itself. So I just think everybody should pay attention to that and take advantage of an opportunity that may not be viewed as prominently as it could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Loring, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. We'll close public comment for this item and ask council members if they'd like to ask any questions of the presenter. Councilmember Diaz-Nash, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the mayor. I too am very excited. Jennifer, thank you to you. Thank you to the Chamber, the DSMA, and everyone who's really worked on this. It's the beginning. It's absolutely the beginning, and it's a good beginning. So we've got a lot of goals and strategies. We had a discussion, Eric, the head of the Chamber, mentioned that we had a chance to be a leader of what our ultimate goal for what do we want people to say about San Mateo when this is implemented. I've always said, San Mateo, it's where you want to be. That's sort of but that's a slogan, that's not a, have we had that discussion? If not, I would recommend we should.
Not yet, but we will be ongoing as we start implementing this and working with the Chamber. There is also, through the general plan, there is also some sort of like general marketing of the city as well, that we want to make sure that's in sync, as well as a downtown area plan too, that may have a branding aspect. So I don't want to get ahead of those as well.
Sure, and I appreciate that, but I would just suggest it's more than just branding. As I said, what I said was a slogan, but this is,
Targeting businesses, or what you're
what do
saying.
we want people to say about us, and different kinds of people? So that's just a question to keep in mind. Let's see, number 2. Yeah, obviously, throughout we say it, but I don't know whether we say it clearly, that I think we need to have a policy that favors local and small businesses, that we want to support small business and local businesses, but all things being equal, we want to support the businesses that are here and the small ones. We absolutely want our major corporate partners, and we've said that, but I think we also have to give equal time to the local and the small. And in goal number 6, maintain safe, vibrant business districts, did you mean to also include clean, safe business districts, or do you, is clean part of safe? But we obviously get a lot of feedback from businesses as well as residents, so I think it would be great to include that. And in terms of you speak a lot about partnerships, which I believe is absolutely critical, and I commend you for that. Do we think about consciously doing public-private partnerships? We talked about the Chamber and the DSMA, but the sort of classic public-private partnership, is that part of our thinking?
When you're talking about public-private partnership, are you saying other than the Chamber and the DSMA?
Yeah, if we wanted to do, I don't know, something with Franklin Templeton to educate,
We're definitely open to that. And, other than the Chamber, we also have worked with various not-for-profits like the Renaissance Group and SBDC to host different business learning events. And that's definitely something that we can definitely work on some more to create more public-private partnerships.
So I can just jump in on that. So we're definitely open to all partnerships in all ways, shapes, and forms to come our way. This council already has entered into a negotiated agreement on a public-private partnership that would increase economic vitality in our downtown with a bespoke project as well. So we do have a track record of working on public-private partnerships here to increase vibrancy in our downtown.
I completely agree, and I think we should champion that and sort of talk about it a little bit in this document as well.
Okay.
Then, to your point about lots of other areas,
I apologize through the mayor. Could I step out for a minute because I just keep coughing? Of course. Thank you.
No, thank you.
You can
Feel better. Feel better. And how are we thinking about our partnership specifically with the public sector, whether it's the county, the educational groups, and we have a lot of employers in the city who are not private businesses, nonprofits. We had a comment about age-friendly as it being a segment. How are we thinking about partnerships with them, or how do we see them within this strategy?
Oh, they're definitely partners in terms of providing either job access to the city and/or if they need support in expanding their facilities. We're also working with the college, for example, when they're looking at what kind of program, what kind of degrees are they minting so that their students can get the jobs and the training they need to get jobs in our city.
Yep.
So we're definitely, we're both providing information to these entities about what's available to them, as well as getting feedback and listening to them on what they need.
Great, because I think that's one of our competitive advantages, that we have so much business with the county and the educational systems and the nonprofits, that's something we can really raise up consciously. Assistant City Manager.
So I would just also mention that through our libraries, we offer a lot of supportive services.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these resources are available through our library programming. We do have a webpage on our library's website that lists all of our offerings, and so that information is very accessible that way. And also people can come in and use the resources at the library, including the internet, the meeting rooms, and all of that. There's all kinds of publications and things like that that provide access directly to those nonprofits. And from time to time, we run programming that offers those direct resources with those partners. Speaking directly to the age-friendly program, I would highlight that over the past couple of months, our number of businesses jumped from 15 to 23. And so we got 8 more just very recently, and we will be promoting that program again in the next week or so through all of our city's promotional platforms, our e-news and our socials, because we find that every time we do that, we get more. And we're going to be running our survey, which is a pilot on the application process, not on the program itself. And so I would just mention that the program itself, we very much view as being permanent. It's been very popular. Obviously, it makes the businesses more accessible to the folks in the community. And so we're not looking at the program itself as a pilot, but the application process and which aspects of the program were the most successful was sort of in a piloting period. And we're going to use the feedback from the survey to figure out which things took hold the best, so we can promote those more and then integrate more things into that program so that we're doing the things that work best for the community and the people that are taking advantage of it. And also keeping in mind, those things don't just work from an age-friendly capacity, because the things that are helpful to the aged are helpful to all kinds of members of the community. And so I would just put that out there. So what you're saying totally resonates with us, and we are very much we're very proud of that program, and we very much see a strong future for that program.
You're here.
I just want to add that it's also part of the Parks and Rec's age-friendly cities objectives, and so we didn't call it out specifically because it was also listed there.
But I think all of this these are all competitive strengths we have, and really should raise up and do more with. Just like the expanding the cultural offerings, I think it's number 5, there is so much opportunity in that. And it says, I believe in the report, something about adding amenities Amenities to me sounds like you're going to get mints after dinner with your coffee, as opposed to, we have a lot of amazing restaurants. What do you do before dinner? What do you do after dinner? What do you do on the weekends with your kids? There's just a lot that I think there's a lot of potential there. So I want to make sure that we definitely underline that, but that we also get more variety in our restaurants and businesses and respond to the people that are coming from. And related to that, I assume that as part of the development of the strategy, we reflected on Bay Meadows development and Bridgepoint, and what can we learn from those two major developments in terms of future economic development, what worked, what didn't. We've had successes and challenges in both.
And we have met with the new owners of Bridgepoint to know their plans on the Bridgepoint Shopping Center, as well as I hosted a tour of Bay Meadows complex to the Urban Land Institute this past November to bring in a whole bunch of people who are touring the area to see what type of developments are happening in the Bay Area, and they were all very impressed by what Bay Meadows has to offer.
Bridgepoint. So I think just in final wrapping up with that, I don't think we can underline enough the place of San Mateo in terms of regional centers for people to come from other places, whether it's Bridgepoint, whether it's the current Hillsdale, whether it's what Hillsdale will become. And that has to factor into this, that we have to continue to be a regional leader from a community gathering place, from a retail place, from a business perspective. I think we've got physical advantages, but I think we also need to claim that position and really work to achieve it. So thank you, and thank you again to everybody involved.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fernandez, please feel free.
Thank you. Thank you through the mayor. And Jennifer, thank you again for a comprehensive report. Just a few questions. One, I just want to compliment you and the team. I know that the loss of Draeger's was major in our downtown, so I'm really excited that we have a new high-end grocery store coming in. So just thank you for your hard work on procuring that. I just wanted to make sure I called that out. So this has been a few days in a row now where we've seen, at least in downtown, which is part of District 2, some of our small business-owned independent restaurants closing. We're losing Vespucci at the end of the month, which is a real tragedy.
Yes.
We had Worst Hall closed down, but I'm excited that Wonder Bar's coming back, which is a really cool place if you guys haven't grabbed a drink there. But they're going to be having like limited hours, but I'm really excited it's coming up. Have we ever explored doing anything around like business rental assistance or anything like that for our small businesses? Because I think my understanding is the reason Vespucci is leaving is because the rent got hiked up. So is there any assistance or anything that, or any federal?
The owner told me.
Okay.
The property owner shared. So one thing,
I think that, I've just received new information today, so let's go and look through that before we,
let's not
start
speculate.
talking about speculating on any of this stuff. So I want to follow up, and then we can provide an update to the council
That would be
as to exact terms on certain businesses and what's happening.
That's totally fine. Can you provide a little bit more detail on the nightlife exploration? When that was brought to us previously, that was an important aspect for me because I really do want to see the engagement of sort of the younger residents in downtown, and I think a nightlife is appropriate.
yeah, I think we're just going to be looking at ways that we can make like nightlife easier to expand downtown. Would it be sort of like looking at ways to what policies and ordinance that might might hinder a new business that comes in with longer operating hours maybe, or different uses? Can we basically reduce our hurdles for a new business coming in with different ideas that might include something like live music all the time, like a piano bar downtown? Is there something that we can do around that to encourage that type of use?
Okay, that's great. Are we doing anything with, and this might be a question for Alex, but are we doing anything around the mixed-use properties that we're having a hard time? Like, are we doing any sort of focus, special focus on the commercial portion, like when we had to convert Station Park Green, that from?
We hired a retail consultant to kind of go through all of those spec spaces to make sure that those spaces are being sized correctly for the optimal use of retailers.
Okay. And are we doing anything else in that moment?
So that would be really the main kind of area of focus right now is really how do, when you look at just these mixed-use buildings, these new ones, a lot of the focus goes on everything upstairs, not so much on the community serving aspect, which is the ground floor and how you interact as a community. And so as Jennifer has brought up, we've retained a retail consultant to actually work not only with city staff as we look at the plans and the build out so that they're flexible spaces overall so that you can do hard, soft retail or even restaurants in these spaces. But then as part of the development process or the planning process, the developer will work with that retail consultant. It's part of the overall application so that we get the best kind of retail serving amenities for the community in advance. And we haven't had that before, so this is just new in the last, I'd say, probably, Zach, is it 6, 8 months? Yeah, 6 to 8 months that we brought the retail consultant on board and really focusing on ground floor activity and interaction with the community.
Great.
Can I just explain one other thing through the mayor? When you have individual businesses, they usually have long-term leases. So when a property owner, going back to your question about independent restaurants closing, they may choose to sell out of their own personal reasons. And when they have a long-term lease, that's an asset. And that sell is something that the property owner cannot deny under their existing lease. So there's very little for the property owner to do in terms of vetting a new business if they meet certain parameters that the lease says, like good credit standings. It would be a reassignment of a lease. So the fact that we really don't have a lot of vacancies in the downtown, that really speaks well to the strength of our downtown.
Great. And then my last question is that I want to highlight what Councilmember Diaz-Nash said about sort of preserving the small businesses and really recruiting for those small businesses and preserving the businesses that are actually already in our downtown. And I've noticed and I've actually received feedback from many people who come to San Mateo and live in San Mateo about the proliferation of the tea shops in downtown. I think in downtown we have, in that very small square block, we have between 17 and 19. Unfortunately, Deja Vu Juice closed down and it's being replaced with another one. Have we, there's only so much competition you can have in one industry before it kind of starts eating itself alive. And I'm wondering if have we ever thought or explored about doing more to attract more diverse businesses, or even, under unusual circumstances, even having like maybe sort of a moratorium or something on the expansion of that particular product in downtown? So
I'll jump in on this. So I would say that we're really fortunate that we don't have, lights are on in our downtown ground floor. So that's a huge positive. A lot of other cities are trying to just attract businesses to their downtown. Additionally, just in in a capitalist society, in a market economy, it would be up to, the amount of tea shops that you have. What it would take is, upon them, there's competition, right? And so obviously there is a market here in this community that all these tea shops are thriving and they're opening here. If there was some point where they weren't attracting revenues or making enough money, then you would probably see some of these tea shops close. But obviously they're doing very well here in the city of San Mateo, and therefore you're seeing a vibrant economy of tea shops here. But at what point do us permitting all of these new businesses end up taking away from the already established businesses that have roots here in downtown San Mateo? So the market, once again, dictates all of this overall, and so private property owners hold these properties. And so what happens is that depending on what the rental rate is and the amount of return, they get to make that decision. Now, let me go ahead and give you this perspective overall as staff. We want to have a diverse, vibrant economy here in our downtown, and we're open for, having diverse opportunities, of hard, soft, food, drink, retail atmosphere overall. And so I know that staff is always working we're open for anyone. Come and, put roots here in our community, not only in our downtown, but in all our business districts overall. We want to see business succeed here, because their success is our success.
I will say we do leverage the fact that we have so many boba shops. When Mackenzie Jakubik was hired as executive director by doing Boba Day, which has been very successful 2 years in a row, and one of the only ones on the peninsula and the South Bay to actually have that. So in terms of leveraging our strengths, one of our strengths is the fact that we have a large amount of boba shops. And it is part of the boba trail that the SF Peninsula is basically advertising for people when they're coming to the Bay Area. So instead of a wine trail, we're part of a boba trail.
And then I would just add, aside from, economy and what it can or can't support, just from strictly a land use perspective, these are not uses that require a use permit, so there's very little discretion that the city has under the current zoning. When they come in, they need a business license. They don't need a use permit. And so whether these shops sell tea or coffee or sandwiches or whatever it might be, they're just a to-go restaurant. And so they are entitled to operate whatever they're selling because the kind of use that it is a ministerial use. And so as the codes are currently written, we don't really have any discretion to tell them no. So I would just put that out there. And so it would take some kind of change that would put them on a different kind of playing field. Right now, they're on an even playing field with any other kind of food or drink use that's similar in function and operation to theirs.
And I will say, if you remember back in 2000s, mid-2000s, yoga shops were all the trend.
Yes.
And now it's boba shops. So these are normal economic cycles, and this will cycle through, and we'll find something else. It might be all the boo-boos. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I'm done.
Thank you. We have any other council members? Yes, Councilmember Speaker Gudis.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Overall, I do agree. I think it's a strong foundation. I think for me, I'm especially interested, though, in how it translates into visible results in the business community. And I think more broadly, where I'd give us an A grade is all the efforts downtown. Where I'm concerned is what's happening with the 25th Avenue corridor, with the east side of the freeway. We have the Parkside Plaza, which is nearly vacant. And then with future Hillsdale Mall and how we're really connecting and making sure that the business owners there are also aware of upcoming future changes, et cetera. And I think just to start, if I think about the future of the city and the 3-year plan, I really want to understand, like, if there were 3 metrics that the city council should be thinking about in terms of what does success look like, what might those be?
I think it would be sales tax, unemployment rate, and then your general vacancy rates, which is all listed.
Okay. And then I guess, like, what do you see as the one advantage San Mateo has that nearby cities can't easily replicate?
We have 3 Caltrain stations
Okay, so
in one small city.
So given that we have so much access to transit, like, what are we doing to promote that, for example, with the upcoming World Cup?
We are ideating different ideas to do with that. One of the things that the chamber and the DSMA and the city is and the Parks and Rec are doing regularly is meeting to talk about different things we can do. One of the things that the chamber brought up was basically an activation event that they're still thinking about, which is called the Parade of Champions and a Caltrain activation, working with like youth soccer groups to do a parade and then using the Caltrain to activate it. So again, I know that we're trying to work fast to create these events, but we're still just in the developmental stages. But we are planning for different ways to activate and bring the community together around the World Cup.
Okay.
So just real quickly on the strengths of our community and looking at the 3 train stations, the council has really put a priority, especially with the general plan 2040, to really focus on these focus areas around our train stations. And so you're seeing that significant investment, the planning investment, and all the hard work that went in there with all these new applications for mixed-use buildings to increase vibrancy around all of these 3 train stations here. Additionally, of course, the city itself is just, its location is phenomenal. When you can go to San Francisco, Oakland, or San Jose all within 30 minutes. You know, a lot of cities are envious of us being in that location overall. But I would say that, you know, talking about train stations and even the east side, we're going to be promoting and kicking off a new shuttle, actually, that's going to connect from Hillsdale Station to all the east side businesses, including the Bridgepoint Center, so that we have, you know, that access, because it is a little further away from the rail line, but we want to make sure to include that business hub, because we do have the train station next to the Hillsdale Mall, next to the downtown, but we want to make that connectivity over there to the east side. But Point Tank, and also, I think it's something we have to look at, is just the park side where the Smart and Final is and all the businesses over there as well, to really look at those as business hubs.
I guess where I come from is I understand, like, we have a huge city and there is a lot of great, you know, exciting investments happening. So I don't want to take away from that. But there are also pockets in the city that continue to have deficits. And I just feel like I keep hearing the same presentation over and over again of like, we're doing these things, we're making progress, but I want to see actual results and where the business growth is really happening. And instead, it seems like consistently we hear about one business closing, another business closing. I think too, like to Nicole's point earlier about moratoriums, right? Like right now we have a moratorium on drive-ins and drive-throughs. Like, what are we doing to revisit that? Or when we talk about new tech businesses coming into San Mateo, what and where is the kind of outreach to the new businesses, not just in the downtown, but across the city, and also promoting what's happening across the city to drive those workers at lunch to different segments of our businesses. And I just don't like hear that narrative and see that metric converting, and maybe it's there, but I want to see the actual metric and the growth metric.
So a lot of what you're stating is a lot of the work that we do. So I think that, you know, is a good point, that to be able to tell that story and be able to articulate exactly those touch points that the staff is having, me personally having actually. Really doing a better job telling our story of all the different touch points that we're having in order to cross-pollinate, and really how we are proactively actually, you know, meeting with the CFO of Roblox, go ahead and meeting the COO of Hercules Capital. These are all big Fortune 500 businesses. And so it is happening. Maybe we got to be more prominent of, you know, providing the council updates of just exactly those touch points that we're having.
Or pull us into those conversations,
Happy
I
to
think.
do that too, absolutely.
Because we want those businesses to know that we do value them and we want them here. I think when we talk about public-private partnerships too, when I look at the wheel of economic development, the piece that I see, even though I know you mentioned the bespoke, which is a fantastic first step, but the piece that I see missing is more connectivity to some of these larger businesses and what they can bring back to their workers who live in the community. And I have to be very transparent, and this is just my personal sentiment as a resident of San Mateo that's lived here my entire life. I am concerned about 2026 and beyond. There is likely a recession coming, and people are belt tightening, and I really want to understand what we're doing right now to fortify the trenches for our local businesses and to bring in more businesses, you know, to make sure that we do have that diversity that Nicole and others have mentioned. And I just have to be super blunt about it, that I just feel like we're getting the same report over and over again, and it's not meeting my expectation.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and give you some data points just so that you're aware. So Just overall office vacancy in this city as of Q2 is about 26%. In the peninsula, the overall office vacancy is about 25%. So we're about 1% off. With Q2, with retail overall, I think it's only a 6% vacancy overall in this city. We are beyond blessed when you look at just overall being able to have our lease spaces here. I go ahead and I believe we share these on a quarterly basis with the council, all these metrics about just the vacancies and what's happening in the business. And I'm happy to continue doing that. Happy to talk to the public, happy to talk to the council about just the work that we're doing to make sure that we have a strong business environment. Without a strong business environment, we're in pretty big trouble because we rely not only on the business license tax, the sales tax, but then also just for the community. Community vibrancy is of utmost importance.
Great.
And so it's all about bringing everyone together in lockstep and working side by side. And so really the item this evening, this is probably the first time in the history of this city that we have an economic development work plan that this council has prioritized. And so that we've been working on over the last year. And it's something that I really look to and will hold staff accountable. You can hold me accountable as your city manager, that we're gonna work hard in this area to attract and retain strong business and create a strong economic footprint as best as we can. Understanding that the private market can dictate a lot of this too. But can we try to position ourselves and lean in? Absolutely, and work with our partners like the Chamber, DSMA, and anyone else who wants to step up. We're all about it. And so this is something that, at least me personally as your city manager, it's an area of strength that I also bring to the table to really create vibrant communities overall. And so I look forward to continually working with this council and working with this community to make this a top-notch, economic, vibrant community.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate that. And again, I'm not trying to diminish the work, but it just, I really would like to see the metrics going forward and really see the tangible results that are coming out of this, and not just the downtown, but the entire intersections of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, through the
Councilmember
mayor.
Newsom, go ahead.
First off, thanks for a great presentation. I think that, this is a working document. I don't think it's, finalized, and I see it continuing to get better. So keep up the good work to you and your team. One of the things I think about when I kind of take a few steps back and look at the city is the tremendous amount of development we have coming in the next few years. I've brought this up before, but I think that might be something that we should be incorporating into our planning. And to use an example, we know that the San Mateo Mall is going to decrease in size in the next decade. And so I don't think that it's ever too late or ever too early to start promoting the idea of moving and relocating these businesses to other places within San Mateo. I am a little too old or a little too young to remember, but in the 70s and 80s, there were still, early 80s, I was little, there were still businesses like actual retail and department stores in downtown San Mateo before they kind of closed the mall and made an internal mall in Hillsdale. And that's when the big retailers all moved. And I think what we should be looking at as we look forward is moving them back. So if we're going to see a diminishment of the amount of retail in Hillsdale Mall, I would rather than see them just leave the city of San Mateo, I'd rather we start looking at where can they go? How do we get 2 big department stores downtown? And again, this is very kind of looking ahead and thinking big picture. One of the things that happened this past year is we lost Snowflake's corporate headquarters, and we had the San Mateo Marriott close. And I know we've talked about this a lot, but I think it's very important. I go to a lot of the chamber events, and I go to a lot of business openings, and generally, those are the smaller businesses, which are vital to our city. But I want to make sure that we are also knowing at all times who are our 10 and 20 largest employers and largest economic producers for the city, and how are we making sure that we're keeping them in San Mateo? And it ties back into development as well, because if you look at like the Bayshore Business Commons, that's a known thing that in the next, again, 8 to 10 years, that whole business park is going to be replaced by housing, which is good. We need housing. But also, we should be looking now thinking, how do we make sure that the 50 businesses that are in that stay within the city of San Mateo? So that's something, I know you know this, but I just want to make sure I really reiterate that I want to make sure that we keep looking down the road and we partner with not just our small businesses, but all of our businesses in the city, and we do our best to keep them in the city.
We are actively working on a retention plan for our businesses and making visits and seeing how they're doing. Sorry, my voice.
That's great. And, you know, keeping a running list of who our 20 largest employers are and maybe our 10 fastest growing. And there's a lot of data points to figuring that out.
Yes.
We talked, I think Councilmember Fernandez brought this up, but just to reiterate, I want to make sure that as we develop, looking at like Lori Meadows neighborhood, for example, there's potential loss for the corner grocery stores and the corner mom and pop shops, and the laundromat's already gone. I want to make sure that if we do build out these sites, that we really are finding that the mixed use is successful, because just having housing go there and lose all the local corner places that you can walk to is not healthy for the city and for the neighborhood. It's going to frustrate the neighbors. So while we can't necessarily make them do that, I want to make sure that, and I know we're committed to doing this, all mixed-use projects that have, you know, commercial and retail on the ground floors are being looked at, and I know we're headed that direction. So, but just putting it on record. The next thing would be, I think that San Francisco has had tremendous success with these entertainment districts, and I know that we as a city are not able to qualify for that yet. It's still limited to San Francisco, but I think that we should keep our finger on the pulse of how the entertainment districts are working as a beta plan, and we want to be the first city in San Mateo County to have an entertainment district in downtown. And then to kind of reiterate something that Councilmember Diaz-Nash said, you know, I've worked my entire life in small and medium businesses. I know that they're the engine that really helps drive our economy. And to her point, I would like to see that we try to study and figure out if it's possible to give small and local businesses an opportunity or a leg up in bidding on city projects. And this might be, for example, specifically like, and you see this in, for example, San Francisco and in Alameda County, where if you have a business that's based in your city, when it comes to for bid on something, you get a 2% knockoff, meaning your price can be 2% higher and you're still apple to apple. And then if you're in the county, you get a 1% as opposed to the city. So I think there are things we could be doing, and I hope that the city will kind of look at that and think on that. And really, those are the big things. One other thing of note is, you know, there are neighborhoods that definitely seem dry. The Parkside Avenue corridor, 25th is, the collective 25th is doing better, but 40th Avenue, and you know, there's a building still in 40th Avenue corridor that's called the Olympic Village. And a lot of people don't know this, but that's because in the 80s, when the soccer team played in the US Olympics at Stanford, they actually were housed in the city of San Mateo. And so, you know, when we look at things like projects coming forward, like the Super Bowl and the World Cup, it really would be, you know, great to figure out ways to get some local tie-in back to the city of San Mateo. I mean, we're perfectly located between San Francisco and Santa Clara, and so we're really prime, you know, and just really great location. So anything we can do to get people, you know, in San Mateo and, you know, kind of tie into those events, I think we need to keep on focusing on.
We're definitely working on that.
Yeah.
For sure, for the upcoming sports in 2026. I will say that, and this is not an excuse at all, but I do want to say that the last couple of years, I've had a new executive director for the Downtown Association and a new chamber. So we have been focused on a limited location. And now that they have more experience, we can look at more working with the Marina Center in Norfolk, working with the outside areas. So that's why with the chamber, we've been able to do the winter walks 2 years in a row and see that grow over time.
Right.
So that is something we're definitely, I am aware that we need to spend more time.
Yeah, I certainly don't mean to diminish all the progress we've made, because we have definitely been making progress. I just want to make sure that we are looking broadly and continuing, and I don't want to lose any of our major companies in the city of San Mateo. So, and if we do lose them, I don't want it to be a surprise to us. I mean, that's really where I'm going with that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate a robust discussion on this topic. I did have a question or two in addition. Jennifer, I was thinking about how the city of South San Francisco has an economic development center on Grand Avenue that has, or at least had, Renaissance, Job Train, and others inside helping people. And I understand that I think Assistant City Manager Horsberger mentioned that our library has services right here, in fact, I suppose. Can you give us a sense a little bit of how what we have in our library and the resources we're currently offering along these lines compare or contrast with something like an economic development center in other cities?
Sure. What South San Francisco has is a location for businesses to go to find support in getting financing, getting reemployed laborers. It's a place where people will walk into. What we do in San Mateo is that the Chamber did this in May, and I actually, when businesses come to us for asking for support, we meet them where they're at and we bring those services to them. So when a small business is looking to grow and need to understand loans and application, I direct them to the Small Business Development Center, the San Mateo Small Business Development Center, which provides free coaching to help them figure out how to qualify for capital versus them walking into a physical location. On your question about what the library presents, the library has a job seeker job seeker hour where we have free volunteers that will help you basically polish your resumes, help you apply for positions. And their hours are Mondays from 10 to 12, Tuesdays from 12 to 2, Wednesdays from 11 to 1, and Thursdays from 10 to 12 on the second floor of the library. In addition, there's a whole reading room that's funded by the San Mateo Franklin Templeton Business Resource Center, which has a whole collection of business articles, periodicals for you to research on your business ideas and provide information that you need.
Thank you. And where is the Small Business Development Center located?
So SAMCITA was hosting it. It's now basically, you would basically call the office or set up a time with them online, they'll come to your business.
Okay. Thank you. And we talked a little bit about, we've had some questions and discussion about ensuring that businesses in areas outside of downtown are succeeding. And I did bring forth, I had an item in Blue Sky that kind of ended up upgrading a previous council priority that has to do with business improvement districts, PBIDs, and a city feasibility study. Will this be part of the three-year plan timeline? And
Yes, it's listed as part of the goal, so yes, it's part of the three-year plan timeline. It would need council approval for a study and resource allocation, but yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I want to echo Deputy Mayor Fernandez's comment about securing a new full-service grocer in our downtown as, I think, a good sign that we have some resiliency in our city and some of the resources we're applying in partnership with developers and property owners who are interested in making things happen is succeeding and can even potentially shore up some of our identified weaknesses and hopefully produce some results that we can appreciate farther down the line. I'm glad to see engagement of 25th Avenue included within this. And I really enjoyed the Winter Wonder Walk that we had. We had a passport created by the chamber this year that had 30 different vendors. And, among those, to me, which was extra important, I think, for this particular event, was a number of existing businesses that are on 25th day in, day out. And so I am optimistic and hopeful that what we have to come will continue in that vein. And I think, as was mentioned, achieve a balance of producing new business through initiatives while maintaining what we have. So I guess that's what I have to contribute, and I thank you for the presentation.
Really quickly, I heard, a few comments just about, so what we have here is what we're looking for approval this evening, this work plan. It's a 3-year work plan. Of course, we can amend it throughout the 3-year period. But one area that I heard multiple council members bring up is just about utilizing sourcing and procuring from local and small businesses here, at least the city itself. We are a big economic driver as a city organization. So I was quickly looking through here. We could look at Section 2, foster a business-friendly environment, and towards the end of that, maybe say, when appropriate and financially prudent, utilize, source, and procure from local and small businesses. And then with that, one of the probably action items would be is to look potentially in this period about the bidding and maybe giving a local preference, a one-up potentially in the future, some type of program like that.
Yes.
I have nodding heads to amend. I see that across the board unanimously. So that would be part of whatever motion that you have this evening in adopting this.
Yes, thank you for the reminder that I would like to entertain a motion to effectively adopt this 3-year plan, potentially with the amendment just illustrated by the city manager.
I make said motion.
Second.
Thank you. Deputy City Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Mayor. Councilmember Newsom?
Yes.
Councilmember Straka-Goditsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Lorraine?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. That concludes this item, and we'll move on to the next item. Item number 7, City Council Priority List, Fiscal Year 2025-2026 Progress Report. We have a presentation from Zachary Rita, Senior Management Analyst.
Through the mayor?
Yes?
Sorry. We're hitting about 8 o'clock, and so I'd maybe want to do a reminder about parking.
So parking is fine here within the library. You're just not going to be able to use the stairwell. You're going to have to use the elevator past 8 o'clock to access your car on floors P1 and P2, if I recall the instruction. Yes, Deputy City Clerk gives me a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience, Zachary. Welcome, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Advance.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Zach Rada, Senior Management Analyst in the City Manager's Office, and I'm here tonight to provide a progress report on the fiscal year 2025-2026 City Council priorities. So the action staff is requesting from the council tonight is to review the list and provide direction if any adjustments are asked from council. A little background here on how we got to where we're at now with the goal-setting process. So on February 22nd at Blue Sky, the council reviewed the existing priorities from the previous fiscal year, created new priorities and modified existing priorities, and then removed completed and operationalized items. In May, the council reviewed and adopted the priority list. And then that brings us to today, which is the progress report from July through October. And staff is seeking any anticipated next steps or adjustments from the council now. So overall, there are 41 total actions. 6 are complete, 31 are in progress, and 4 have not been started yet. And we color-coded the list, so when I go through them, you'll see the ones in green are complete, the purple ones are in progress, and the orange have not been started yet. Also, department heads and deputy department heads are available if you have any more questions or require any more details about any of these. So I'll just jump in. We have the priority list for fiscal year 2025, 2026, and it starts with number 1, establish policies to decarbonize existing buildings and infrastructure and eliminate methane gas use by 2030. This is marked completed. We have the Electrify San Mateo Sustainable Building Strategy adopted. Next, number 2, create a comprehensive, ongoing citywide community outreach and engagement program. Staff is making some good progress on this one. We have a community engagement handbook completed, a citywide web team established, and we have a communications manager coming on board in early January, and that person will be able to really advance a lot of this work. Number 3, create a capital infrastructure plan or process for reinvesting in infrastructure to allow the city to evaluate city facilities and assets when upgrades are needed. There was a citywide facilities assessment presented to the council in October, and a CIP organization assessment is in draft and target completion June of next year. Number 4, explore a resolution affirming the city's commitment to integrate new technologies such as AI without displacing workforce. Our IT team is working on an AI policy to set guidelines, usage, and protections for staff with a completion date by the end of the fiscal year. 5, conduct an annual transportation review of progress on all ongoing plans, including project updates, key metrics. The first annual transportation review was presented in June of this year, and the next one will be in June of next year, so you can compare the two at that time. Next, number 6, complete speed surveys. So staff is working on an RFP process for this, and estimated completion is fall of 2026. Number 7, explore limiting overnight RV parking in commercial corridors. We had a study session on this item, and policy direction is being implemented by the PD now. Next is number 8, have not started this one yet. Explore how the city of San Mateo could partner with Sustainable San Mateo and Peninsula Clean Energy in Charge Forward San Mateo, a countywide effort to ensure that residents have equitable access to electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So staff is planning on beginning this work in the first half of 2026. Number 9, develop and implement an ordinance to prohibit the use of gas leaf blowers. We had a study session on this, and the ordinance is being drafted. It should be coming in the new year. Next, number 10, youth service officers at schools funding program. There's been no progress made in this area. And then number 11, develop city council code of conduct with measurable consequences. This has been completed. 12, develop policy on regulating mobile vending and food trucks. We had a study session on this item, and we are working on bringing a draft legislative policy back to the council in early February, and we have language in that legislative policy that addresses the food trucks. 13, establish senior hubs at MLK and Beresford Senior Center. Space has been allocated at MLK, and staff is working on getting this up and running. 14, deliver the clean water program. The wastewater treatment plant is on track to be in operation late 2025, construction complete in spring 2026. And then the final lift station rehabilitation project, we're estimating will be complete in early 2027. 15, explore the implementation of a customer response management system. This was already mentioned tonight. We have a vendor, and we're hoping, it sounds like February is our timeline to getting this up and running. 16, implement phase 1 of the Central Park Master Plan. We're moving forward on this, and completion is expected in late fall of next year. 17, address structural issues at the Marina Library. It's another one we're moving forward on. Should have some serious progress and be complete in about 12 to 16 months from now. And there's a lot of great improvements, including exterior and landscaping improvements, newly updated interior, relocated deck. Explore piloting a city grant fund is the next one. This is a city manager's office item that we are currently exploring, and we'll bring back some options in a study session in spring or early summer of '26. Now that brings us on to the 2 to 5 year completion category, so a little bit further out. Number 19, consider the adoption of wage theft protections. This has been completed. We have a vendor on board who is enforcing this. Number 20, initiate a community budget process for anticipated revenue from Measure CC. Our finance department is tracking this closely, and we have $1.7 million in revenue as of August 2025 for fiscal year 25-26. Number 21, enhance citywide disaster response and emergency preparedness. So we've deployed some emergency go bag backpacks already for all staff members to have at their work location. And last week, we just had a 4-day emergency management concepts training that allowed over 35 San Mateo staff simulate how to respond in the EOC to an emergency. And we have field maintenance staff meeting with our consolidated fire to coordinate emergency access to the city's pump stations. Our Parks and Rec team is meeting with consolidated fire to do some care and shelter trainings and simulations in our facilities out there as well. So we're making some good progress there. 22, implement the adopted general plan. So work on the comprehensive zoning code update started in July, and we're moving forward on an outreach and engagement strategy, updating the Strive San Mateo website and coordinating with other departments. 23, implement housing element policies. So this is moving forward in multiple different ways. We have the council adopted an emergency rental assistance program in July. We have code amendments to the city's ADU ordinance underway, and we have a few other areas where we're moving forward. 24, reconstruct all failed streets identified in the Smooth Streets program in San Mateo by 2026. Phase 4 is complete. Phase 5 is out to bid. We're hoping by the end of next year that will be complete. Number 25, replace all remaining high voltage circuits to improve safety and reliability of the street light system. Phase 4 is delayed due to permitting issues with PG&E, but Phase 5 is underway. We're hoping for a completion on Phase 5 of this project in early 2026. Number 26, implement a robust year-round downtown activation program as part of our core city services. So we do not have this committee up yet, but as you heard in the last item, we're coordinating with the Chamber and DSMA and having things like the Head West Market, West Coast Farmers Market, and special events on the Ped Mall. Next, explore how the city could partner with the school districts and other public, private, and nonprofit organizations to support Empower San Mateo, a community collaborative model aiming to help 1,000 equity priority San Mateo students graduate and thrive. So we're looking into partnering with the San Mateo Union High School, and we recently went to a volunteer fair and talked to students about our volunteer opportunities with the city. Next, prioritize planning, design, construction, and maintenance of rapid safety improvement projects citywide and ensure there's funding. So we have the Quick Build Mobility Program implementation strategy under development, and all projects in the work plan are progressing as planned except for the Hillsdale Gap, but we're moving forward on these projects as quickly as possible. 29, improve and strengthen democratic systems and decrease polarization. So we held the review of the post-election review is conducted. There's council direction implemented for campaign contribution limit adjustments and improvements to voluntary expenditure limits. Also, the dashboard transparency and youth voter engagement initiatives have been fully operationalized. 30, work with schools, community colleges, businesses, and other organizations to expand youth and senior workforce development and civic leadership opportunities. So we plan to expand the volunteer program to the office environments, including the city manager's office and HR. Also, HR has initiated the development of a recruitment, marketing, and outreach plan to expand recruitment and outreach activities in an effort to develop partnerships and build pipelines for city jobs. Next, 31, we haven't started on this one yet. It reads, commission a citywide feasibility study for groups of San Mateo businesses interested in forming business improvement districts. We mentioned this in the last item. Next, explore and evaluate allowing a retail cannabis storefront in downtown, also not started. 33, develop a climate adaptation plan. This is really focused on sea level rise and flooding, and work is underway. We have our consultant, staff is working with them to develop the plan. And our last one in the 2 to 5 year is minimize impacts to residents from train horn noise at city at-grade crossings. So the train quiet zone implementation is delayed until Q4 of 26 or Q1 of 27. And staff received directions from council on full closures at Villa Terrace and Bellevue through phased implementation. Staff is continuing design for both locations and are currently working with regulatory stakeholders on funding at Villa Terrace. Okay, I'm on the last 6, so almost there. Expedite efforts to improve the stormwater collection, drainage, and storage system, including dredging the Marina Lagoon. We heard about this a little bit tonight from the Public Works Director. Consultant anticipates having a prioritized capital improvement plan for the storm drain system by the end of 25, early 26. We're also looking at spot dredging, as we heard about earlier this evening. Implement a green fleet by 2035 is number 36. This is moving forward at our City Hall, our Courtyard, and PD. We're starting to look into this, see what we need to do to start transitioning the fleet. 37, expedite efforts to provide high-quality effluent from the wastewater treatment plant upgrades to support the future production of potable water. We remain involved in discussions with Burlingame, with Cal Water. We're looking at possible options there. 38, study resource feasibility for the downtown grade separations and long-term train corridor improvements. So we have our grant writing consultants, California Public Policy Group, and we're looking at funding opportunities. We also have a federal consultant who helps with any kind of grants on the federal level as well. 39, improve traffic flow on 19th Ave and Fashion Island Boulevard from Grant to Mariners Island Boulevard. So the project is at 35% design, and we're continuing to move forward on that one. 40, complete all high and medium high priority projects in the 2020 Bicycle Master Plan and the Pedestrian Master Plan. Projects are moving forward, progressing accordingly. 41 is kind of a longer one where there's a lot of sub-actions underneath it. So the umbrella priority is expedite efforts to improve and build climate resiliency into the city's stormwater collection, conveyance, flood control, and levee systems, including dredging the Marina Lagoon. Again, we heard about this a little bit earlier this evening. The areas where we're moving forward and are making progress is adopt an updated storm drain master plan, complete Marina Lagoon spot dredging design and construction, explore options for providing additional pumping capacity at the Marina Lagoon pump station, and developing a sea level rise adaptation plan. This is continued, the same council priority, 41, and these are some areas where we have not yet started. These include pursue funding for implementation of a comprehensive flood management study with the Army Corps of Engineers per the city's Federal Water Resources Development Act authorization, initiate design on high-priority stormwater capital improvement projects identified in the Storm Drain Master Plan, complete design, environmental review, and permitting process for large-scale maintenance dredging of the Marina Lagoon, begin implementation of high-priority stormwater capital improvement projects, collaborate with relevant stakeholders, and look for funding for projects identified in the Sea Level Rise Adaptation Plan, continue implementing priority projects from the Storm Drain Master Plan, and last is initiate design, environmental review, and permitting on priority shoreline adaptation projects. So I know that was a lot of information, but almost at the end of my presentation here. So just for going forward in future years, we're going to have a new process moving forward, and that's largely due to the adoption of the citywide strategic plan and the roadmap that it's going to be taking us on for the next couple of years or so. So we will no longer have the 1 year, 2 to 5 year, and 5 or more year categories. Instead, we're going to have those smart activities that we discussed when we adopted the strategic plan. So these will be smart activities under each strategic initiative. We'll bring these forward at the Blue Sky for council consideration. And for any of the existing priorities that are on the priority list that are not complete, we'll bring those, we'll try to transition those into smart activities. But some of the broader long-term priorities, such as implement the general plan, will be converted into strategic initiatives and goals. And we do not want to lose sight of any of those longer-term goals that we have not that we've not started yet. So we're going to develop this parking lot of council priorities that we may not be starting right away, but we're aware of them and they're on our radar. Here's my last slide. So we're looking for action, review the list, and if there are any adjustments, now is the time. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And it's good for the public to get the full breadth of this item. Now we can open this item up for public comment if anyone has any. Deputy City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Mayor Newsom. If you wish to speak on this item and you are with us in our new room, the Oak Room, please provide me with your request to speak. If you are joining us in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. I will close the public comment period. We have one request to speak per rules and procedures. That is 3 minutes. And our first speaker is Trina Pierce.
All of you guys that worked so hard. My name is Trina Pierce, as you all know. I'm here just kind of as a complaint. I pay property tax, and every San Matean pays property taxes. It is a little bit or a lot. It doesn't matter. So I just, listening to some of these surveys that are taken, I just hope you guys could just make sure the surveys say what it needs to say and stop doing all this around the way stuff that we don't understand. We have to come to a meeting for them to tell us that, oh, 3% this, and they add in 3%. We don't need all of that. And it's just benefiting other people. And we know there's a lot of people that have more money than some people and that are making the city corrupt. And we're hearing that, and it's just not right. You know, we have these surveys. We know what the surveys are saying. We are there at the meetings.
Excuse me, Trina. This is only for item 7, the City Council priority list, fiscal year 2025-2026. Needs to be specific to this item.
So, but I was just saying, as they take surveys for those things, that they just make sure they represent the San Mateo. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening.
Mayor Lorraine, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any council members with questions related to this item? Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Unless somebody wants to start down there, since I started last time. Okay. All right, well, thank you through the mayor, and thank you, Zach, and thank you, everybody on city staff who contributed to this effort. This is a full team project. and will be. I know we've talked about this in the past, and this is more just to throw the question out into the ether, and maybe blue sky is the time to talk about it rather than tonight, but we have a community budget process as one of our initiatives, and it's coming from Measure CC funding, and we have a major deficit. So I would just like to throw the question out there whether at some point we'd want to reopen the question whether we want to do the community budget process at this point.
So just to jump in from staff's perspective, this is ultimately, it's up to the council, how you want to prioritize, or if you want to move forward, if you want to add, remove an initiative. When you add and remove an initiative, typically it's at our February Blue Sky meeting. That's where typically this discussion would take place. I believe last February, the direction from the council was to push it all the way into the 2 to 5 year and limit it to $50,000, I believe. That's exactly what I believe it was at the time. And so that's the direction that we've had to date, and that's what staff's going off of. If the council wants to reconsider this, February would be the best point in time to have that discussion.
Great. That was my question, so thank you for answering it. And just a comment about the emergency preparedness. Is there any other city that has sent 35 people to a 4-day training? I mean, we started emergency preparedness at a tremendous deficit a few years ago. I think this is an example of how we have come tremendously far, and we need to keep pushing. But I just wanted to say thank you to the city manager, assistant city manager, and all the staff who took time to do this, because I think that's critical. And then just underlying, please, unless Mother God opens up the reins or the streets sink, Matt, or whatever it is, can we do everything we possibly can to complete Phase 5 of Safe Streets by the end of 2026? Because the folks who are on those streets in Phase 5 have been pushed out so many times, and you know that, and I know you're trying, but double emphasis on that. And I know you said, Zach, we hadn't started the Downtown Vibrancy Committee. What's the plan, rather than just we haven't started it? Or who do I ask the city manager?
So I think that's just an iteration. We started with Rev Up San Mateo. If you recall, the last year and a half or so, we've seen tremendous amount of new activity in downtown, but I think it's an offshoot of that. And I know that our economic development team, I can go ahead and get an update. I don't think Jennifer Chen's here. Christine, do you have any update on that specifically about the vibrancy item?
So my understanding of the vibrancy item is that would be community members as opposed to our internal group that we have right now, which is really DSMA chamber and staff, sometimes pulling in other partners when we have something that's pertinent. And so I would see the vibrancy committee really being something that comes out as part of the downtown area plan. And so we will be pulling that together in 2026. And I see that as something that comes out of that and helps us to do something more permanent, whereas the Rev Up was really to rev up the downtown at a time when we needed to spur the Ped Mall while we were waiting for the furnishings to be implemented and the permanent improvements and the mural. We were sort of in an interim time. We were looking at the permitting for the outdoor seating. We were on hiatus with some of the fees and really looking to bolster the programs that were there. And so we did that and it worked and we saw a lot of things happen. And so right now we are continuing it in a sort of rev down capacity. And we'll see the downtown area.
Steady, not rev down.
We'll say we are, we've internalized it. We've internalized it. And so we're holding it steady, we're internalizing it. And I think the vibrancy committee, from my understanding, was envisioned to be more external community, a community capacity group, as opposed to a staff group.
And so I think that's going to be an outcome of the downtown area plan, because then we'll know what the vision is for the downtown. And a standing committee makes more sense when we're not in a period where we don't know what the future is going to look like.
Okay, so that would be more something like 2027?
I think so, yeah.
Right, I think that's just an important thing, because if you just looked at those three words, people don't know what that is. So it is a concern.
Yeah, and maybe we'll come back for a little more direction when we get to that point, because I do also think that that would be a council-appointed type of committee.
Sure.
And so maybe we put our arms around and put more shape on what their objectives will be.
Okay, great, thank you very much. And then just a question on the business improvement districts. Do we need is the major reason why there really hasn't been work done on that, beside the fact that there's so much else to do, don't we need the downtown area plan to be articulated before we can then say, at least within the downtown area, here's the potential, go and talk to landlords?
So typically when dealing with business improvement districts, it's the devil's in the detail of the limits and the boundaries of those. And so I think that would coincide with what you were just saying about just the downtown plan, because what is our downtown? How far out does it go? But when you look at just outside of that, you're looking citywide, or you're looking at 25th Avenue or other nodes and areas, what does that mean overall in order to establish business improvement districts? And so it's working, typically these are property-based, so there's business districts that are, from the retailers or the businesses, but then there's also the property-based business districts. And usually it's the property-based business district, like the retail side is great too, but the property-based districts is where a significant amount of funding can actually go in and reinvested into the vibrancy of that area. There has to be a vote of those businesses, as you all are aware, to be able to move forward with the business improvement district. And there is a lot of outreach and some study up front in order to prepare for that. So typically you hire a consultant who comes on board and really work through how to get people all on board to move forward with establishment of those districts. It is, but it's the retailers, it's the businesses. So downtown is a business improvement, it's not a PBID, a property, not a PBID, a property business improvement district versus a business improvement district. Yep.
I didn't know it when I first put this on, and then the mayor knew when he announced it. So, great. So anyhow, thank you. I'm excited about this, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anything?
I just have one question.
Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
Thank you. Thank you. Through the mayor, I was wondering if we had any raw data on the RVs in the city.
Yes, so I'll go ahead and ask our police chief to come up here and go ahead and provide an update on the implementation. I believe the council, Ed, was it in June we came with this item? I think it was in June of this year when we asked for direction, right?
We asked for direction.
Yeah.
The council allotted a 45-day grace period at that point. As you know, we peaked out in the city at about between 60 and 70 RVs earlier in the year. We do a bi-monthly census or count of RVs and folks living in their vehicles throughout the city. Our last count as of last week, we're down to 13. So it's been a very successful effort. We've issued.
Did you say it was 13?
13. So that's not only RVs, that's folks to be found, either abandoning their RVs or living in their vans or cars or RVs. So while RVs are the most noticeable, there are other folks that are living in their cars throughout the city. Since August, we've issued 22 citations for various violations, from parking to registration violations, those types of things. We've issued 4 citations for the municipal code section, which council directed us to begin enforcing, which prohibits living in your car. That was not without significant effort to try to provide services. And in fact, even those folks that have been cited, we are continually working with them to provide services, and hopefully we'll resolve those without any type of prosecution. We continue to enforce the 72-hour rule. Although people are pretty savvy with that, they know how to work that pretty well. But we're very pleased with the numbers. Our folks are doing a really good job. The combination and collaboration between the homeless outreach team and our officers in the field have worked out well, having that carrot and stick approach to give folks an opportunity to cooperate before taking enforcement action. And we've only had to tow 2 vehicles to this point. So that's
Good.
that's direction.
Chief, while you're up here, I know that there was very limited things we could do with regards to the food trucks, but is there anything on that, on the sidewalk vending? No, any?
So the sidewalk vending is a little bit more of a complicated issue. And the only, it's kind of a square peg, round hole approach, because the laws available to us to enforce both food trucks and vending are not laws that were intended for that purpose. They're primarily parking enforcement type of laws, and navigating through state law and making sure that we are compliant with state law while enforcing local law is tough. So to this point, our only enforcement of food trucks is to reach out to them to make sure that they comply with local parking regulations, which most of the time when we approach them, they move, but it's not hard to just move and open right back up. The sidewalk vending, I'll yield to the city attorney. That's much more of a complicated issue as far as what we're allowed to do.
Thank you to the PD for your hard work on both those issues. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ed, if you can stay up here, sorry.
Councilmember Spear-Kukudiski.
Thank you very much. I'll start with the PD stuff. So I noticed in Zach's presentation, number 10, youth service officers, we haven't really made progress there, or have we?
Well, I'd say we've made progress, but not during this calendar year or even fiscal year. As you know, in 2020, 2021, the school districts opted to withdraw the funding for the youth services officers that they funded. We had 3. We have 3 major public high schools in the city. From a service provision perspective, that made a lot of sense. Each youth service officer or school resource officer at the time, we've kind of changed the name because we're doing a lot of work outside of the schools now. Each was assigned to one of our 3 large public high schools and their respective feeder school, their junior high school. So they had a relationship with kids as they transitioned from junior high to high school, which can be difficult. In fact, at the beginning of the year, most of the problems we see are at that freshman, sophomore level, kids trying to make the transition from junior high to high school. When they opted out of that, we were left with 1 school resource officer. Since that time, our staff has done a really nice job in seeking external funding. So we've been able to maintain 2 youth services officers for an extended period of time. We've recently secured some additional funding that will give us kind of a youth service officer. It will fund a community service officer who will be assigned to our youth services unit, which will be able to do a lot of the things our youth services officer can do. Provide some education programs in the schools, interact with the schools. Won't be able to do everything a youth service officer can do, but it's better than nothing. But I don't know that there's been any traction. I would yield to the city manager regarding. I know I've had conversations with both of our school superintendents. They seem to be open to the idea. However, I don't know that we've made any progress in that area. It's strictly a funding perspective. It's strictly a funding issue from our perspective. It's just trying to get that third body.
And just to confirm, we have 21 schools across the district.
Well, if you count, I don't know who you talk to. Right now, we're between 26 and 32 if you count private schools and some of the preschool-like pre-K type schools that we service.
So they're rotating roughly each of them around 10 schools.
Yeah, pretty much we focus on about 10 schools is where the need for most of our services are. We do provide services to some of the elementary schools, especially during like Literacy Week and stuff like that, where we do some outreach, or Safety Week. We'll like I'll go out there and read to the kids, and our YSOs try to go out there and our therapy dog is often requested to go out to some of the elementary schools when they're dealing with difficult situations. So primarily, it's the junior high and high school level that demands most of our attention.
Okay, great. Similar line of questioning, but just really quickly, a comment about the RVs. So I'm really happy that we've made progress in this area. That being said, on the east side of the freeway, we are getting RVs in particular, and I actually have seen the HOT team out there, but I'm noticing where we have the sandbag station off Anchor Road, there are some folks that have moved out there, if we can continue our outreach efforts. And then Mariners Green 3, their neighborhood association has reached out to me to share that there are people parking overnight, and they do have concerns about crime in that community.
The one byproduct of our enforcement efforts with the RVs is where, like RV Way was a huge problem. Amplet has always been a problem. We focused on that with some effort. We were aggressive in those areas because we knew there was a problem. The byproduct of that is they've become a little bit more transitory. So they're popping up in other parts of the city where folks aren't accustomed to seeing them. We know these individuals for the most part, unless they've just shown up, they're here, from day one or day two. But, we know them, and it's a little bit of chasing our tail, because if they do comply with local parking regulations, depending on the size of their vehicle, if their registration is correct, all those types of things, they're not supposed to be sleeping in their or living in their vehicle. That requires a little bit more investigation. Like, we've written 4 citations for using your vehicle as your home. We have to prove that. There's a standard there, so that takes some time. So that will take that could take up to a couple weeks for us before we issue that citation, not only in offering services, but knowing that if we stand in front of a magistrate or a judge, that we have to prove in fact that they were living in that vehicle. So that does take some time. But I do sympathize with those folks. We are getting calls from other areas of the city that we hadn't before. We know who these people are, but we're simply moving them from point A to point B until we convince them to find someone else.
Whatever we can do to just keep encouraging them to get into long-term housing and support that, 100%.
Yeah, we are still prior to the council's direction to start enforcing the local ordinance, it was a service-oriented approach, and we haven't abandoned that. The provision of services is always our first, second, third, and fourth option before we take any type of.
And then last thing, and I know this was actually one of Councilmember Newsom's goals, but just going towards the Green Fleet initiative, how old are our police vehicles right now?
Well, we replace about between 7 and 9 police vehicles a year. Patrol vehicles, the black and white type mark. We replace about 7 to 9 a year.
And then I guess, your police officers work in like 12-hour shifts, right? Like where you have a daytime and a nighttime. So the cars are running 24 hours a day.
Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some cars we don't have a lot of cars right now, so we try not to run cars 24 hours a day, but oftentimes we're forced to, depending on how the shift works out, what cars are available, whether there's cars in for service, those types of things.
I think this is just a general comment for the city council, and would love your perspective or Alex's as well. I think I'm very excited and would love to see a green fleet. One of the things that I hope the council keeps perspective on, though, is that we're in a unique situation where these vehicles are running 24 hours a day. And, when you're in police in action, and I'm not an officer, but really what they need is a vehicle that can go high speed, can stop, quickly if a pedestrian's coming into traffic in a high speed chase. Like, we need to also balance what's realistic, in achieving that goal of the EV fleet, and also what our officers' day-to-day needs are. Like, these are highly specialized cars. They need to have computers and specific equipment in them. And so I just don't know if we've had like an in-depth dialogue or understanding from the police department on like what are the intricacies of really keeping those cars functional, and what would be the potential impacts of getting an EV fleet, because that will require specific maintenance programs, et cetera, correct?
Yeah, so we're trying to move that direction. We have an electric motorcycle now that's worked out pretty well.
Okay.
We have not gone to an electric patrol car package. Some of our unmarked cars that we've ordered will be electric. We're starting to move in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two challenges. One is the ability to have we need the infrastructure to charge these vehicles. We need these vehicles need to be available at a moment's notice, 24 hours a day. So that's a big challenge. The other is we don't have the large, robust research and development entities that agencies like the Highway Patrol or LAPD or some of our larger, kind of our bigger brothers. In fact, I met with the Highway Patrol Commissioner was in a meeting with him about 2 weeks ago, and they had just finished their study. They took several different makes and models and tested they do a test of vehicles every 2 to 3 years, and then they compile a report. And we're awaiting that report because we usually follow their lead. When they went to Crown Victorias, we went to Crown Victorias. When Ford stopped making Crown Victorias and they went to the Explorer type model, we went with them because they do the R&D, and we rely on them for that type of R&D. But you're absolutely correct. I think that there are several challenges with an electric fleet if you're talking about marked emergency vehicles at this point. I don't know how long it'll take to get there. Right now, we don't want to be the guinea pig. We don't want to be the beta or the test case. We'd rather follow a larger agency that has a more robust.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Just really quickly, I know that we're committed, because this was a council discussion item in the past on patrol cars, is to have hybrid patrol vehicles, and I believe that's what we're going after now, right?
We were successful about I think that a public works director, so we were successful about 3 years ago in securing, I think, a half dozen hybrid patrol vehicles, and we had ordered more, and they just never came. And we were told by Ford, kind of, good luck, you're probably not going to see them. And I don't know what the business model for Ford was at the time, but they never arrived, and we had to go back to the Eco Boost that we're using now.
No, it's kind of a wonky thing, but I worked for Ford for a little bit of time, and I drive an electric Mach-E. And so I talk with the Ford corporate people a couple times a year at events, and the hybrids are now being exclusively made for police use. So hybrids are available, but we have to keep making sure that we're pushing that to the top of our queue.
Yeah, I know we're not alone in this problem. I know that.
Right, yeah.
That I go to police chiefs meetings all the time, and nobody can get hybrids. So if that's the case, I don't know why that's.
Well, you mentioned this report. When it does come out, will you share it with the council?
Yeah, it's public. Well, I'm awaiting it. I'd like to see it. I don't know how much. To be honest, I don't know how much. I didn't get into the weeds with them. We were at a large meeting. I don't know how much research they did on electric vehicles, but I'm assuming they included the hybrid package since it's been out there before. So yeah, we're looking for. I mean, they look at a lot of things that we don't. They look at Dodge, Chevy, Ford. I don't know that we could switch manufacturers. I'd have to work with Public Works because I don't know what type of infrastructure we have to make that drastic change as far as providing service to these vehicles, but. We do rely on those larger agencies, and we read their reports in determining, hey, where are we going with our next patrol?
Awesome, thank you so much. Last thing, I just wanted
Done
to.
with it, Chief?
Oh, yes, thank you, Ed, really appreciate it. Last thing on this item for me is just the senior hubs. Trying to understand, is that something that will be picked up or finalized in 2026?
I will just love to say kudos to the city because we have launched the first activity of the senior hub at MLK Center just in your last council.
Last week, yeah, it was on Friday's weekly update just of the status and where we're at, and so we're making progress.
Great.
And Deputy Director Marie Silva is.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
here
Marie,
this
go ahead.
evening. Hi. Yes, to your point, City Manager, we have made progress. They're up and running at the King Center as well as Barrettsford. We've done some data analysis of our classes at both locations, and we were able to determine as well that our senior population is actually registering for classes at those locations, so it's spread across the city. The area of opportunity for us is to do more marketing so our senior population knows what's available at all locations.
This is just a note too, I wonder if we're doing more marketing, if there's a way to leverage the age-friendly coalitions, especially since they're already going out to businesses or our senior commission to do some of that lift. But we can take that up in 2026.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback.
Zach, thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. Really appreciate it. Love seeing all the progress we're making.
Thank you.
Councilmember Newsom?
Thank you, through the mayor. Zach, thanks for a great presentation. It looks like progress is being made on most things, which is fantastic. Most of what I want to say has been covered, so I'll just kind of go through it real quickly. 1, 8, and 38 all talk about decarbonization of building and infrastructure, and all this kind of ties back into having the infrastructure in place for a green fleet, which is something the chief just mentioned. I think we should definitely talk about that again at the Blue Sky. And I also think that as we plan to kind of start lumping these into more categories as opposed to one-offs, I think that there's a category there for us. Similarly, I think, you know, we've been working with grant writers. I would like to make sure that or if we haven't already been doing this for the youth service officers, we are looking at our grant writers to see if there are grants available. I know things are pretty slim picking right now, but law and order tends to be one of the things that people agree on, so hopefully we can look at that.
Just want to do a quick plug for our Lieutenant Kimber Joyce, who does an excellent job, right, Ed? She's written all the grants, and we just recently received another grant in this area for the CSO to work with our youth as well. So major props to our PD team on that, and so we'll continue that.
Yep. Yes, thank you, Tar. I know we're making progress on mobile food trucks. I see, and I think a few other council members have mentioned this, what seems to elude us is the people who aren't in trucks. Looking at, for example, South Delaware Street in my district, they're on the sidewalk, and I'm sure they will be when I go home tonight. The grease on the sidewalk where they are is about a 40-foot grease spot. So even if we can't get rid of them, I would like to see if we could make sure that they are cleaning up after themselves. And I don't know if there's anything there. But.
So I can comment on that too. So in addition, just since the study session on food vending, at least when it comes to these sidewalk vendors, one of the areas that we've been working on is working with county health. That's the big one, because really it's the power of county health to go ahead and enforce. And Zach, do we have any update? I know Eugene, our code enforcement manager, has been working and trying to figure out whether or not they're willing, what's their position overall. I think that's been more of the discussion that we've been having, but can go ahead and ask staff for an update, maybe provide a council weekly update for you guys.
That'd be great.
Where we're at on that front, because they are the ones that have the powers.
There is an interesting thing that I just recently saw. I was visiting Assemblywoman Pappin's office, and there's an actual food truck operating on El Camino Real that then has sit-down in the building behind it, but causes a lot of visibility concern with people trying to enter and exit the parking lots of these office buildings. And so, sorry, it's just one of those things that popped in my head, but I wanted to call that out. And I don't know if there's any there, but it seems odd in that they're.
We'll go ahead and we can note, just during the discussion on the study session that we had on food vending, I believe one of the areas that council gave direction on is that they have to receive permission from the private property owner to be able to access their property as well. So that's something I can follow up with our code enforcement team. And then look to the chief maybe just to take a look at the parking issues over there off of El Camino by the assembly member's office.
I mean,
he's got a smile on his face.
The other thing there is that there's a visibility concern, obviously, with, I know we've got some daylighting, the work that we've done. I know this is kind of more mid-block, but it seems to me like there should be some red zone in and out of, either side of the parking lot entrances. But
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Assembly member's concern. We've had several conversations. Yeah, that vehicle's parked legally. It can be there for 2 hours, and that's the challenge. It may be a site challenge pulling in and out of that driveway, but unless we adjust the parking regulation along that stretch of El Camino, there's nothing enforceable. As police officers, we can't just arbitrarily determine what's safe and what's not. It has to be legislated. So that's the challenge that we face there.
So they should be moving every 2 hours?
I believe that's a 2-hour time limit.
Yeah, well, they're not moving every 2 hours. But okay, cool. That might
we will.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I want to give a special shout out. I think Councilmember Diaz-Nash said this, that we've made great progress with our emergency preparedness this past year. And I'm thankful to all the city staff for doing that. I'm also thankful to the county for giving us some funding for that program. I know that sitting on our fire board, that CERT is moving in a direction of also potentially having a Spanish CERT class in the future, and possibly eventually a Mandarin as well. So I hope that our consolidated fire can continue to support that and make that move. the county's also doing that. So it may be that we can work together to kind of develop the curriculum in different languages.
And just to do a plug on the emergency training that we did last week, one is we received a grant from Supervisor Noelle Corzo of $50,000, so it was no cost to the city, but it was an investment of staff time of about 40 full-time staff who actually trained for 32 hours with different scenarios. And talking to the trainers from the California State Training Institute, CSTA, out of the Cal OES, Cal Office of Emergency Services, the governor's office, they say this is the first time that they've had a city actually, all city staff work collaboratively together to do this training. And so that was really neat. And they said kudos to your city council for, taking the lead and putting emergency preparedness and management at the forefront of the work that we're doing. So major kudos from the state leaders in this training area to this council.
I don't know if our emergency preparedness plan technically falls under the city or under our consolidated fire, but I think we are making progress on that, and I think we just need to keep that progress moving.
So the plan is the city's plan, that this will come before this council for adoption, I'm hoping in this next upcoming calendar year. Is that correct, Christina? For our EOP?
Yeah, it should be coming fairly soon. And since we're talking about it and giving kudos, I would also just like to say thank you to Zach Rada, who had a major role in pulling all of that together and identifying that grant funding and going after it for us.
Yes.
And is also working really closely with fire to get our plan progressing. So thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And then I guess the last thing I was going to mention is, I have a lot of people in my district that are concerned about train noise, and they continue to be. I know we've kind of pushed out the quiet zone, which is disappointing to a lot of people. There's also been requests to make sure that as we make new grade separations in the future, that we make sure that they include a pedestrian above grade crossing or below grade crossing, as opposed to a pedestrian overcrossing the tracks, because otherwise it cancels out the quiet zone potential from that train stop. And one of the things that people are starting to ask is it ever going to be possible to have a bridge again to go over Hayward Park? I don't know that it ever will, but I know that there is concern that, we get a lot of noise from that and there's no car crossing there. So again, when we circle back to the blue sky, I think, 34, 38, they all kind of play together.
So I think that just the quiet zone, once we get there, is going to be a major accomplishment for this city. No other city in San Mateo County has the quiet zone. And so, yes, there's a little bit of delay. We wanted to engage the community further, and that's what actually created this delay, is to just get it right and do, robust community outreach and engagement. Additionally, there's opportunities potentially, because the council gave direction to also close Bellevue, that we can utilize some federal funding as well, where, we wouldn't have to be out of pocket, $2-3 million on that project as well. And that's something that we're trying to go after as well currently. In addition, on a parallel path of what we're dealing with right now on train noise is really holding Caltrain accountable. So our residents do a very good job of being able to articulate, the issues of the train horn. And so I know there was an email update even from Caltrain last week talking about how they're measuring the decibels, how they have to bring the exact trains, because our residents are so good at pinpointing exactly what date, time, location, that Caltrain is taking that train offline down in San Jose to go ahead and test out the decibels for that exact train. So this is what's going on, and so it just takes some time for them to get that train offline to go ahead and measure these decibels to make sure that they put it at the lowest legal level allowed. And that's all because of this council.
Yep. Thank you very much for the progress and everyone's efforts. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see. Another robust discussion tonight, and good time spent on presentation as well. I don't think I have anything more to add, so at this point I will close that item and thank Mr. Rada for his report. Very good. One more. Item number 8 is City Council special meeting start time direction with a presentation and/or input by our Deputy City Clerk.
Thank you, Mary Lorraine. Ready. Today, I'm going to talk to you about discussion for the City Council special meeting start time. And I hope this is a brief discussion and presentation, so I'll do my best. So the main purpose for this presentation is to seek council's direction and whether to continue our current flexible approach to the special meeting start times, or if we want to establish a standard start time going forward. This is specifically to the special meetings that occur before the regular meetings. If we do decide to set a standard time, then we should designate the time for the special meetings, that it will include a study session. So a little bit of the background, just for our members of the public that don't understand or quite know the difference between a regular and a special meeting. City Council usually conducts its official business through the regular and special meetings. All of these are established by our city charter and state law and our council's rules and procedures. So for example, in section 2.9 of our city charter, our regular meetings states that our regular meetings are held the first and third Monday of each month and may not begin earlier than 6:30 p.m. And in practice, in the city of San Mateo, our regular city council meetings typically start at 7 p.m. Just to give you an idea of how everything is managed. And for the special meetings, those are a little bit different. They may be scheduled outside the regular meeting calendar, and they only require a 24-hour notice. Again, this is mainly to establish a time or continue a flexibility for the special meetings that occur before the regular meeting. Just for awareness, the council commonly holds meetings immediately before the regular meetings to allow time for focused discussions. That can be a study session or a closed session. The study sessions provide additional time for complex or high priority matters where staff seeks policy direction rather than a formal action. Although no votes are taken, study sessions serve as key forums for the council to ask questions, explore policy options, and give direction that guides the staff. So there are other purposes for the special meetings, such as advisory body interviews, goal-setting workshops like the Blue Sky workshop, public employee evaluations, and other non-routine matters. But again, for the purposes of this presentation, the direction being requested is limited to the special meetings scheduled before the regular city council meetings. So we did a quick analysis of all city council special meetings over the past 3 years to identify key patterns in scheduling and meeting duration. The special meetings typically include a closed session or multiple closed session items and study sessions or other time-sensitive discussions that are usually held prior to the regular meeting. So here, a brief summary, starting with 2023. We had 17 of the special meetings began at 5:30 p.m. Only one began at 5 p.m. and 7 began at 6. The main reason why the one that began at 5 p.m. was a larger number of items during that meeting. And then moving on to 2024, the total of 11 special meetings began at 5:30 p.m., 8 at 5, and 1 began at 6 p.m. Again, the meetings scheduled at 5 p.m. typically included closed session items and a longer study session that required additional time. And finally, in 2025, we have 19 special meetings that began at 5:30 p.m., while 4 began at 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. And the meetings held after 6 p.m. were generally short or just included a short closed session item, or a very brief study session, or one of those. So overall, based on this quick analysis, our flexible schedule allows to have multiple closed session items or multiple items as part of the study session before we move into the regular meeting. So again, just for our direction is to whether to continue the current flexible approach for the for the special meetings, or establish a standard start time going forward. And if a standard start time is preferred, what time should be designated for the special meetings? That would include a study session. Again, this is only for the special meetings before the regular meetings. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. At this point, I would open up this item to public comment and return to the city clerk for a tallying of anyone wishing to speak on this.
If you wish to speak on this item, please provide your public comment now. If you are in the room with us, you can submit your request to speak to me now. If you are in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. I will close public comment. Through the mayor, there are no requests to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. I would now ask my fellow council members if they wish to ask any questions or give comments. Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
I think the fact that we're having this conversation really shows the evolution of the city council that we have right now, because we've evolved from a council that I think a majority folks didn't have 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week jobs, and now 4 of us, I think, all of us work, but 4 of us have like 9-to-5 jobs, and serving on a council is really hard and time consuming, and so it would be helpful. And I'm actually the person who raised this item, is that we don't have special meetings start before 6 p.m. because it allows us to complete our workday without rushing from work and come to council prepared to take up the item. I would actually love to see nothing, including closed session, special sessions, nothing starting before 6 p.m. when it comes to city business or a regular meeting.
Okay, thank you for that input. Anyone else have anything to share or add? Councilmember Newsom.
Chantal, great presentation. Although, in looking at it, it occurred to me what we probably should have done or could have done was also looked at when regular meetings ended for the year 2023, 24, and 25. I know for a fact that we didn't have any 2-day meetings in 2025. Thank you. I also have a strong inclination that it's gotten better in the last 3 years. In fact, I know it has. But for me, it really comes down to kind of circadian rhythms, as well as yearly planning. I think all in all, I'm pretty supportive of us starting at 6 p.m. I think I would want to make sure that we always left it open. I wouldn't like to say never, ever, ever. I'd rather have it be our standard protocol is 6 o'clock, and if something came up, that we would then still be able to look at a 5:30 start. And I talked about this a little bit with Alex at the end of last year, or the end of this year, as my mayorship was ending, and we're saying, we also need to look at load balance, and it's hard because things are all on timelines and tracks, but there were some meetings that were during the summer that were barely 2 hours long for the regular meetings, And in those cases, it seems silly that we were at a 5:30 start. And then, the last few months of the year, October, November, we had things where we were at a 5:30 start and we were still here until, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And so, we have to keep looking and working as a council to make sure we load balance so that, the regular meetings, the goal should be to have a 3-hour regular meeting and then backfill into that with the special sessions. Because, while I'm very supportive of 6 o'clock, it makes my life a lot easier to get here and not be late and not be stressed and in traffic. I also recognize that, we want to make sure that we're legislating in the light of day and that people are here to see the meeting. And so, the pushback being, if you don't start every time until 6, I don't want us to get into the other end of the spectrum where we're here at 11:30 at night talking in front of an empty room. So I would be supportive of the 6 o'clock start with the caveat that, we work as a council and work with our city manager to try to continue to load balance and that we also have the ability to make an exception if it comes to that. That was a long-winded, sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm supportive of the 6 PM start, and I actually think for most residents, they too are working, and so this would actually make it easier for them to attend things. And I do think, just a reminder, but we don't all need to always make comments on everything, or if someone says something already in a session, we can just thumbs up that, and that will save time, especially with some of the closed session items. And I acknowledge that I'm guilty of always having questions, so, yeah.
Okay.
Just a question. I'm the worker who can do my work at 3 a.m., so I'm different. But doesn't necessarily mean it's better an end product if I do it at 3 a.m. But if we were to change it to 6 o'clock, that essentially means that what we consider study sessions would be 1 hour long, right? So, yes, we all, myself included, need to be a lot more concise, but it would also mean we probably couldn't do a study session and a closed session at the same time. Because typically, we put the closed sessions into maybe half an hour, Zoom, and then we come back and do the study. So we would just have to talk about load balance. I mean, that would be a reality. We couldn't do as much as we were doing now. Is that fair?
So to that point, that is fair. The one area that I'd look at is that if it's a heavy item, something that has a lot of community engagement or active engagement, it won't be coming to you guys anymore at 6 o'clock. And you'll have multiple items. We're a big city, and there's big issues here. And we have an engaged community at the same time. It just means we might have to double up. You might have 2 big engagement items at the 7 o'clock meeting so that we can get through both those. And people might, if they're waiting for one item, they might have to wait for the other item to conclude first. And it is what it is. Staff is here to serve at the pleasure of this council. At whatever time you want to start and finish, we're here to get the job done. So just looking for your guys' direction, and we're happy to implement.
Could we maybe revisit 6 months into 2026 and see how it's going?
Your guys' prerogative. Direct me at any time. Yeah, you direct staff at any time.
And if I may add, just for closed sessions, starting no earlier than 6 would mean closed sessions would likely be at the end of the regular meeting. So just kind of something to keep in mind as, and we'll keep tabs on what is the nature of the presentation items and when is it appropriate to have a closed session at the end of the meeting versus something that may take more discussion in closed session, which in that case might be appropriate to have it at a special meeting in the beginning. So anyway, it's something else for the council to keep in mind.
Thank you. Any other inputs from, all right. So I have a question perhaps and a thought to add. Maybe just at the risk of potentially asking a similar question, I think I just want to get confirmation of what I feel like I've heard. because I think in some, discussion earlier related to this topic, I got the impression that we wouldn't be able to have study sessions like of substance at 6 o'clock, given that we would have the 1 hour. I think what I'm hearing is there are many items that can take different amounts of time and have different amounts of complexity and public interest and comment, and those that would be longer than an hour would be relegated to regular meetings during, beginning at 7 o'clock, and those that were, seem as though we believe can happen earlier would still be possible to happen at 6 o'clock.
That is correct. One other area is that, there could be, a big policy item that you might just start the hearing at 9 p.m. now. That's another thing. So we'll have to figure out, engage. As your manager, we'll have to work through, and I'll work with you as the mayor and with this council to figure out how we can dial it in, because we also want to make sure that this council makes big decisions. And so I want to make sure you guys are fresh at the same time and not just tired at the very end of a meeting, rushing to make a decision either. I'm not saying you guys have ever done that, but, in my career, I've seen where, these things can go marathon hours and then a decision's being made at 1 a.m. and then you're trying to remember, because I've had that happen, big decisions at 1 a.m. and it just becomes difficult and you're like, what just happened at the same time? And so I want to manage for that too, to just make sure that the community gets its, voice heard at a decent hour, and that the council makes, a sound decision at a regular time too. Yes.
If I may, just because I'm not familiar, but we can call a point of order if a meeting is going too long and also ask for a continuance on a.
Absolutely, that can as well.
What is the procedure for a continuance? And
Yeah, no, I mean, the council can continue an item to a date certain, can continue a meeting to a date certain. And, that can be important where you may, if you do that, you can avoid having to renotice a public hearing item. Or maybe you want to renotice the public hearing item for another date and time to allow for more public input. I mean, you can continue an item. You can continue an entire meeting. There's different procedures for a continuance. And then, we do follow, it's not Robert's rules, we follow Rosenberg's rules of order. It's sort of simplified rules for the city council. But there are ways to condense the conversation during a council meeting. But really, beyond any particular rule, it's more about the city council sort of managing itself and trying to be as efficient as possible.
I don't want to detract, but just a reminder that, let's say there was a run-on meeting, that is available to us as well.
But can I also remind everybody who has been through that, and two of us have, that is not a good thing to do. I mean, from
Sure.
momentum, from starting the discussion up, there are times when absolutely it's important, but it's not something to be taken lightly.
Sure.
Agreed. I just wanted to follow up perhaps on the question about how we approach this hypothetical new model. Does staff see a potential for delays in big heavy items? Because I think one thing we haven't really talked about is how many of our items are big heavy items versus smaller and so on. How does that end up playing out? Any first takes on how that might be?
So in looking at just the upcoming schedule, because we're already filling out the first 5 months of next year, it's already filling up. And so I'm taking that into consideration. There might be, depending on the big heavy items and the number of them, we can first test this thing out the first few months overall and see how it's working out. But I could see potentially, maybe we push things out, and it's fine by staff, if we have to, maybe it might push things out by maybe 6 weeks to to 8 weeks, depending on what it is, to meet it out in order to give enough time. You could always do another special meeting if you really wanted to as well, if we needed to play catch up. Tonight's a good example. We were, I think two of the major items were the Hillsdale, the night of Hillsdale, and we couldn't get to it. That was the one item. That was it. That's all we could get to that night. And that'll happen, in this coming year. I anticipate we'll have another hearing on that project again, and that'll be it for the night. Understand there's a lot of community interest and engagement. But we can play it by ear and see how it goes, and you and I, Mayor, can work through that and then work with the rest of the council, if that's the direction this council wants to go.
If I can add one other point to the mayor.
Of course.
So with an influx of development projects and the passage of Measure T, we have about at least 12 or 13 15 SB 330 projects on the planning's plate right now. And so, those, we have to follow certain timelines under state law to get those processed. So as we consider meeting management, we also have to consider compliance with legal timelines, whether it's for a development project or something else. So that's going to have to factor into the mix on how we pace items that come before the city council.
Thank you. So, Councilmember Fikidis.
May I propose a motion with some context?
Well, I think at this, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm almost ready for that.
Okay.
If that's all right.
So I think and I'll look to the city manager too, I don't know if we needed a formal vote or just more general direction. The request was direction from the council, so no formal motion is necessary.
Well, this would be what I would propose, that we, going into 2026, try a 6 p.m. start with the understanding that we'll revisit in 6 months to see how it's going. And with the understanding, to Councilmember Newsom's earlier point, that if there is a larger item, we could end up starting at 5:30.
Okay. Yes?
Through the mayor.
Yep.
Just a question about communicating to the public if we have different start times. Does that cause confusion or?
So right now, we've had the flexible schedule, but you'll see from the timing itself, it's been predominantly 5:30. I think my first year here, we did 8 at 5 o'clock, but that was because we were knee-deep in negotiations, and so it needed all that time to go through those negotiations with the bargaining groups. So, that it's kind of flexible, really, Councilmember Lisa Diaz-Nash, but we will do our best to really get the word out and communicate. We give our weekly e-news updates. We do social media. So we really try to get this out there about when we're meeting publicly.
So
just one more suggestion or something we can keep in our back pocket. It's been a very long time since there's been a second meeting in December, and here we are having a successful meeting in December. We have 2 summer months where we usually only meet once. We also have a couple of months last year that were 5 weeks in the month. There were 5 Mondays in the month instead of 4. And so, being dead set on we only meet the first and third Mondays of the month can also be something we could potentially look at too, we might be able to, if we start hitting mid-year, if we're seeing that we're not trending well, we can squeak in another meeting on that 5th Monday of the month or on, one of the 2 months where normally we only meet once.
Yeah, I appreciate ideas on how we can achieve this being shared by my colleagues, and I just want to make sure that we seem to have something of a majority, still with us on this idea. If, for example, we understand that there may need to be an extra meeting added to our schedule within the 6-month timeframe, if it seems in this work with the city manager that, in order to meet legal requirements and or just like that load management that was discussed, it would be best to try that. I would also just include, the perhaps so obvious it might go unnoticed point that in general, I would expect our meetings to run a bit longer, as of course we are starting a bit later. And we, have talked, I think, a lot on this council about wanting to leave by, before midnight and so on. And so I would just want to make sure that people were generally okay with the idea that if we were to start later, we would likely end a bit later than last year. And I don't know that that would necessarily bring us to midnight. I don't think it would. But just, I would hope that if we are feeling good about it, trying this, that we give it the college try and try to refrain from postponing too many items if they don't need to be postponed. How does that sound? Yes.
Just through the mayor, the one other thing, and I'm fine with trying whatever the majority wants, because as I said, I'm the odd bird out here with a different schedule. But I also want us to be sensitive to the fact, particularly, that we don't start thinking about having extra meetings in a month or, in the summer, because that's not just us deciding to do that, that's staff. And I think we have to be very cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of work here. And I bet we would have not a happy reaction if we said, you know what, we're going to start having regular meetings in July and August. My guess is that's not a good thing to do. But just so that we're sensitive of the fact that it's not just us making that decision, who's being impacted, that's all.
I don't necessarily see that the meetings would run longer because the study session is always 5:30 to 7. What it just means is we have to have a more effective 6 to 7 study session, and then the primary council meeting still starts at 7 with the intention to end towards 11. But obviously, if there's issues that we have to address, that happens later. For me, as a working person that has a high-stress job, it is very hard to end at 5 and then get here by 5:30. And I just think that we need to modernize and recognize that we're living in a world where, I don't want to be rushing through traffic and injure myself to get to a city council meeting. I'm just being totally honest. And I just think this allows a little bit more flexibility for us to still effectively come in and do the job and still, be reasonable about time. And again, we can revisit midstream next year, and if it's not working, we can go back to the old model.
So through the mayor, I think I have direction from the council for 6 o'clock start time, starting in January with a 6-month review. And we'll go from there, and I can provide any updates that we have in our council one-on-ones and try to meet this out so that we try to get out by 11 o'clock each night.
Very good. In that case, I think we have effectively concluded that item. And I thank everybody for their inputs on that and look forward to trying this. Now we have reports and announcements. Does anyone have any? Yes, Councilmember Spirko-Koditsky.
Thank you. To the Police Activities League, I just wanted to say congratulations on a very effective year. I read through your end-of-year report. Just so the council's aware, the Police Activities League served 1,800 youth this year. They also grew the Junior Giants program, launched a new program, which was the Drone Flight School, and then they funded 17 students from the PAL program through their scholarship to go to college, which is a huge deal. So just want to say incredible work to the PAL board. They are a nonprofit. They do other great events like Lights and Sirens, the 10K Run for Wellness, and then the annual golf tournament. They also, in partnership with Macy's, and Mayor Adam Lorraine was there with me last weekend, did the Shop with a Cop program. It was so incredible to see how many community members and youth were impacted and got to spend time with our officers. And I just really want to give a huge thank you to PAL and also to the Toys R Us, Jeffrey, who stopped by, and Lucille from the Giants, who also stopped by, and to our police officers and explorers who were there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
It's tough to see straight down. Sorry. You're doing a good job. Thank you through the mayor. Yeah, I have a couple of things, went to several meetings, but one thing I wanted to make the community aware is that there is a proposal that is probably going to be submitted to the community by Horizon for a multi-intensity treatments campus, which provides a sobering center, residential withdrawal management at 101 North El Camino Real in San Mateo. And this is something that has gone on in Burlingame. It is, as I understand, transitioning at least part of it to San Mateo, or that is the plan, the hope, but that it is hosted or sponsored by the county, and it will involve establishing a 58-bed detox facility. And we all believe it's very important to help individuals who have issues, have needs, down the right path to get the right kind of treatment. But what I'm very concerned about and want to make sure is that the neighbors, the neighborhood associations, people in the area get a chance to find out, get to meet the people who are talking about organizing this, get to have their questions answered, and also that in any final agreement that the services that our police and fire, public safety officers may provide this facility balances the resources that we have. So I think this is an important project that will continue to move forward, but I want to make sure that there's a lot of community engagement. And I know our city manager has been working with the company already and will continue. So just wanted to put that out there as the beginning of a discussion. Number two, wanted to report in on the fact that I was at CCAG this week, and the Grand Boulevard Initiative, which many of us have heard about for multi years, is going to be, a draft is going to be published early in 2026, focused on corridor-wide needs and used as a basis for cities to do their planning, applying for their grants. The thought is that it would start after 2030 as a build, but quick builds could be possible before that. And it really would focus on defining a universe of design alternatives that various cities could adopt depending on their needs. One thing I asked for, and I believe it was taken in positively, was that this initiative include a business transition fund, because whether it's in San Mateo or any other city, there are going to be a lot of small businesses along the corridor whose business is going to be interrupted while this is going on. And there are going to be parking issues. We'll all have to deal with it as individual cities, but I think it's very important, as we said earlier, that we have to support our small businesses. So that's something to be aware of. And number three, I attended a San Mateo County Child Care Blueprint Collective last week, and that plan, which has been put together by about 35 different nonprofits and county organizations, is also going to be published in Q1. And I really recommend it as something that we take in and we study to see what we can adopt or be inspired by as a city, because we have obviously recognized that early child care is a tremendous need in our city, and that to do all the economic development and all the things we want for a vibrant city, we have to figure out how to provide it. There was also a major training session at the Event Center around be aware human trafficking, because since the Super Bowl and FIFA are coming, there is going to be a rise in human trafficking, and I know our police department is already very engaged with it and the county, so we need to sort of be aware of that. And then Councilmember Newsom and I were on a call with the city manager and a number of city staff this week with the San Mateo Events Center, which is starting a feasibility look for the future, what do we want to be effort. And we are very excited about that because the Event Center is a huge part of what happens in the city. But we think there's a great opportunity and potential to do a lot more, a lot bigger. So we want to be very active players in that. And I think there's opportunity for all the council to get involved. And then just finally, I know that there has been a lot of conversation, largely in the press, but some emails that we have also received regarding the use of electronic devices on the council dais. And I think tonight is a great example of how we're trying our best to follow the code of conduct that we passed earlier this year, which says pay close attention to the meeting, limit the use of electronic devices while on the dais, except as necessary to access agenda materials or respond to urgent personal matters. And as an example, tonight, we are accessing our electronic devices so that we don't have to have our heads turned around looking at the materials the whole time. But I'm absolutely in favor of double down and reinforcing that, our smartphones, our cell phones should stay in our pockets during the session, and that we absolutely need to be focused on the public and our work and our transparency. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Newsom.
Through the mayor. I think most of us have met with the SMCTA regarding the 92 corridor, but they mentioned to me when I was talking to them this morning, was that this morning? Yep. That they have their next office hours scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th, 12 to 2. That's this Wednesday, 12 to 2 at Apple Fritter. So I want to make sure that our residents know about that. And then beyond that, I just wanted to thank everyone from all the city staff, particularly San Mateo PD, the PAL board, the San Mateo Consolidated Fire, for all the great things that have been done, and the Park and Rec to celebrate this fantastic time of year and this holiday season. Also, a special shout out to everyone who attended the At-Risk Youth Foundation's Build-A-Bear for first responders when they give to kids after an emergency. They made a record 405 bears, and I was told that Council Soroko Kadiki paid for most of them. So that said, I just want to, call a shout out to all the great things that we do as a city, and just end the year with, happy holidays to everyone. Have a great holidays, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Yes, Deputy Mayor Fernandez.
Just very briefly, I just wanted, Mayor Lorraine, will you talk about the medical center opening?
Well, please feel free.
Okay. So I just wanted to shout out that we had a new state-of-the-art county medical center open up on Friday. City Manager Kajikian was there, Mayor Lorraine spoke, but it is beautiful. It is an amazing provider of low-cost and free service in the county, and it is state-of-the-art. It looks beautiful. It's a place that you really want to go when you might be in a vulnerable time or you're seeking medical care, and I'm just really proud that it's in San Mateo. And Mayor Lorraine did a splendid job speaking on the topic. So I also just want to make sure that I wish Councilmember Speaker Gaditsky and all of our Jewish community happy Hanukkah. That started, I believe, on Sunday or yesterday? Yesterday. And I also was wondering if we would close in memory of the victims of the anti-Semitic attack at Bondi Beach in Australia. They were having a first night of Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Australia, and I believe 11 people were killed. 15 now, which is tragic. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm hoping that we could close today's council meeting in memory of those victims.
Yes, indeed, we certainly will. Thank you. And I very much appreciate everybody's great reports and announcements. I think I would just add that I've been in awe, similar to I think what Councilmember Newsom mentioned of just how many events we have in the city. and how many of our city staff members are really burning the midnight oil to make a lot of these events happen. There's a lot going on in the holidays here. Just in the last couple weeks, in addition to a number of the events that were described, we had, of course, the Winter Wonder Walk on 25th Avenue, which was awesome. As I mentioned, 30 vendors, and I thought it went quite well, and there was extra lighting. I guess Jennifer walked out, but I want to give her a shout out for helping work with San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce to find innovative ways to add lighting to a streetscape that had trouble adopting some conventional methods. So that was great. We had the Winter Wonderland at Central Park, and there was quite a bit going on there. Thanks, shout out to Parks and Rec and PAL for a number of great events over the last few days that I've had the opportunity to attend with many of my colleagues here. I also did go to the State of the District, which was put on by Supervisor Noelia Corso and her staff, and Councilmember Newsom and Deputy Mayor Fernandez were also there. Chief Barberini was there, and many other luminaries. And of course, members of the community at what is now called Fiesta Gardens, or maybe just Fiesta Elementary, in the North Central neighborhood. And I just was blown away. I thought I was impressed by the team and their updates on a strategic plan of their own, which is the only district in the Board of Supervisors at this time that has a framework like that and is following through on it. And it was great to see each member of the supervisors team providing their expertise in their presentation. And so I very much appreciated the opportunity to learn more. And the strategic plan is available for viewing, but of course I didn't do a great job of sharing the exact URL. I think you'll just need to go on the Board of Supervisors website at the county and check that out.
You can find it at smcgov.org/district-2.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Okay. And this concludes the open session portion of tonight's meeting. We will now move to the conference room for a closed session. Item 9, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. There will be no reporting out following the closed session, and at its conclusion, we will adjourn the meeting. So maybe I'll just look to city manager or city attorney about an adjournment in memory. I guess we would do that at the very end after the closed session.
I think you can simply conclude the open portion of the meeting in the way that Deputy Mayor Fernandez mentioned.
Perfect.
That sounds great. Let's do that. So prior to adjourning, I just want to acknowledge, as the Deputy Mayor articulated, the profound loss and heartbreak caused by the recent tragic shooting in Sydney and I guess Bondi Beach, more specifically, and at Brown University. On behalf of the City Council and our community, I extend our sincere condolences to the victims, their families, and all those impacted. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And with that, I will not adjourn, but instead close the open session and move on to closed session. Thanks, everybody, for your attendance.
You can still bang the gavel. Great first meeting.